From the beginning, the divine feminine has always been. She is the great mother, the origin from which all life stems. All praise the Most High. The royal is a meter. The royal is a meter. The royal is a meter. Tall panel podcast. The royal is a meter. The royal is a meter. The royal is a meter. Tall panel podcast. Two sisters doing the work of the Most High. On a mission to be the voices of the unheard. We doing a new thing in the earth, as it was written in Jeremiah 31 and 22. We were called from our mother's wombs. We both just want to say thank you to our higher power. Shalom. We on a mission, setting examples for our people. Pray to God every day.
All right, ladies, we're going to go ahead and start. First, we're going to have our host first. If you don't know, let me introduce myself. I'm Princess Adah, one of the hosts of the Royal Meetup. We're just two sisters, who just come together with different people each month to discuss different topics, especially those that affect the so-called Black community. This started about a year ago with Sister Raphaala. She had a vision to discuss, what it meant to be a Hebrew Israelite. And from there, it just kind of expounded into something, really beautiful. We've had some really awesome discussions over the past year. And I think this is going to be another one because you can look at this from two different angles, the mother-daughter dynamic. There's a really positive part of it, and then there is sadly a toxic side of this situation. So we want to deal with both of those because a lot of sisters need healing, and it's not always because they were broken by a man. Sometimes it goes all the way back to motherhood. And then there are those of us who had wonderful relationships with our mom who may have some wisdom or advice to share with those sisters who haven't, because someone said the sisterhood in the Black community really doesn't exist. And sometimes I wonder if it stems from the relations we had with our mothers or our mother figures, right? So that's kind of what we're going to be discussing for everyone to just share, their experiences, the things they've gone through with their mothers or mother figures, because, not everyone was raised by their actual mom, but some were raised by grandparents, aunties, or, whoever, So we're going to just discuss that. There's a safe space. Say what you want. We just keep it respectful. I don't think I really need to say that because it's always respectful, but I'm just putting it out there. And even if we don't agree, we still hear everyone out because you just never know. So again, I'm Princess Adah, and I'm going to go ahead and let Sister Raphaala speak, and she's going to also pray us in because we are women of faith, so we always like to start with prayer. So that being said, I turn it over to you, Sister Raphaala.
Hey, shalom, sis. Thank you, Sister Princess Adah. I love you. I don't know what I'd do without you. Um, First of all, peace and love, everybody. How's everybody out there doing? Thank you for your time. I know that you know, I feel like today is like a lazy Sunday. And I was like, dang, I don't feel like doing nothing today. I just want to lay down and get my blanket and watch a movie. But I'm like, nope, I dedicated myself to this. Because sometimes that flesh kick in, y'all. Y'all know what I mean. You sometimes you feel like you want to get selfish and you want to do what you want to do. But when you have a mission to do, you got to stay dedicated to it, you know. But thank you all so much for your time. And again, I'm Raphaala Yasharahla, originally from Cleveland, Ohio. Um, I see everyone on here is us, Miss Empress. It's so good to see you, sis, Miss Empress. How you pronounce your name? Taisha?
Greetings, Aisha. Yes.
Taisha, it's so good to see
Yes.
you. And you too,
Same here.
Ali.
Congratulations.
Yeah, and there's a sister from Tanzania. She's supposed to be on here, and she said that it was going to be like 3 o'clock in the morning where she is. 7 p.m. My Eastern Standard Time will be like 3 a.m. for her. And she was like, I'm coming. I don't care what time it is. But as Princess was saying, we felt the need to do the topic on the mother-daughter dynamics because I've heard so many stories of our sisters and even our brothers as well, um, are really traumatized from their relationships with their parents from the time they were born up until they grown up, and people are really traumatized from experiences with their mothers. And I've been getting phone calls for the past year or so with people complaining about their mothers. And me and Princess and I was talking. We was like, we need to do, we need to have a discussion about this because our community collectively as a whole, we need a healing from toxic karmic mothers. And then there's some good mothers too. But we need to have some conversations on these toxic mothers and what we can do to reverse this wicked spell that's on our nation with these toxic karmic mothers. You know what I mean, y'all? So I'm gonna descend there. I guess we will let each person do like a 2 minute or less, 2 minute or less, 2 minutes or less. An introduction of yourself and where you're from. Um, what is your perspective on this topic of the mother-daughter dynamics of the melanated community?
Oh,
I
and also to say that I don't know, we opened this conversation up to all sisters, so I don't know who will join the conversations. They may not all be Hebrew Israelites, but we're still accepting everyone in love because everyone, needs some therapy at one point or another.
Mhm.
So we're not shutting out anyone who just because they're not a professing Hebrew Israelite, because that's what we're here to do is be a light anyway.
Right, right.
So that being said, sis, go ahead and pray us in and then let everyone begin to introduce themselves.
Will do. Everyone who can will bow your heads. Hallelujah. Hallelujah. Father, we thank you for the will and the discipline to come together to gather with the saints. We thank you for this opportunity. We thank you for seeing us through this week. We thank you for keeping us clothed in our right minds. We thank you for giving us the desire to want to keep your will, to keep the laws. And we ask that you would take control over these conversations online via internet with our sisters. And we ask that this meeting will be a help to someone, that it will bring healing and enlightenment and encouragement and inspiration. And we're asking that you will move by your spirit of the Kodash Rawak, the Holy Spirit, and that you will have your way, and that all of flesh will decrease as we increase in your spirit. In spirit and in flesh. Ahaya Bahasham Shaya. So be it.
Awesome.
Right.
Okay. So let's see. I'm I'm gonna call people one by one from the top of my screen. So I have Empress Taisha. Would you like to introduce ourselves and introduce yourself and let us know your perspective on the mother di- uh, mother and daughter dynamic within the Black community?
Yes. So my name is Empress Taisha. Some people may know me as Odelia throughout the Hebrew Israelite community. And I'm from New York originally, but I'm a nomadic spirit, so I'm all over the place. I'm in Las Vegas right now. And
Okay.
I'm still on my, yeah, yeah. Every time I come out here, I get another upload and learn
I
some great.
love Las Vegas. I'm jealous. I love it there.
Yes, it's the sun
It's hot
is
though.
highlight. It's just during the day you don't want to go out there, but in the
No.
morning and in the evening at 6:30, it's like yellow. Like you remember
Ooh,
coloring the sun yellow. That's exactly what you see in the evening.
that dry heat.
Beautiful, yeah, beautiful dynamic. Regardless of all the things that people hear, you don't have to engage just regular families out here. The mountain's beautiful. So I come out here. It's my third time out here, and I'm always getting an upload. So Las Vegas takes very well care of me as long as I receive, what I have come out here to do. And I'm just my pretty much my journey is just enlightening people in a unique way. My we all have our way of being dealt in counsel from from the higher power and from the Most High, and then we have our way of teaching and learning. So yeah, I'm on a different perspective as as you and Princess Adah knows. That's
Mhm.
it. That's it.
All praises. Thank you, sis. That's beautiful.
And then next, I am having Sister Alyssa. Would you like to introduce yourself and let us know what your thoughts are on this subject?
Yes, yes, absolutely. So forgive me, I don't have my camera ready yet, just now, just yet. So I do have actually some kids in the background and some like off and on, but I'm Elise Ariel. Um, I am a wife and a mother. I have 5 children, and another one on the way, so that'll make 6. I actually have 3 daughters currently. Um, the number 6 that's on the way will make 4 total. And I am basically, I always go off of that Titus 2 perspective, and that's been my mother's go-to. And when she raised me, which is just the age women, you know, showing the younger women, which would be your daughters, or like you said, it could be someone that's just like your role model. It could be whoever you're being raised by, showing you the correct behavior, and examples, and to so to speak, on like how to live and be inspired as um women. But yeah, I'm in Southeast Missouri area. um I'm really not that great at this because I'm a little like on the shy side, but yeah, so that is pretty much it. I was able, thankfully, to have a good relationship with my mother, and I do want to hear what other sisters have to say about the mother daughter dynamic, because it is very detrimental um, in this time and hour, because it's been lost in a lot of areas where we should be like role models, and we also should be inspiration to our younger daughters, to be able to start removing a lot of generational um, you know strongholds and curses and things of that nature, so to speak, that's been in this community for a long time now. So that's pretty much it. Uh,
Mhm.
yeah.
Thank you. That was beautiful. Beautifully articulately elaborated. Thank you. I'm believe it or not, you guys, I'm shy too. I am. I really am. I really am. Yo, you all just don't
Oh,
know. I'm shy too. You wouldn't believe it. I'm telling you, looks are very deceiving. Even after Princess and I've been doing a podcast for a year, I still get a little bit of butterflies in my stomach before I come on air, because it's like because I'm a very blunt, straightforward type of person. And I was told that I speak before I think sometimes, because I'm very, very straightforward and honest. And sometimes, most of the part of my life, I've been like over abrasively opinionated with what I say. I mean, I'm brutally honest, like too honest. And then I had to learn how to like hold back some words, in order to like not offend people. So that's mostly what I'd be shy about. I'd be worried about okay, I don't want to say too much and I don't want to really speak what's on my mind, but some things I need to keep to myself. But yeah, I'm shy too. Don't be shy, ladies, and we want everyone to really speak your piece. Just come out with it, because these meeting podcasts, it really helps a lot of people, because even though you look on here, you see it may only be like what 8 people on here, but when Princess edit these meetings and then we publish them onto YouTube. Sometimes I go back into my YouTube channel because we upload these to our YouTube channels, ladies. I look up and one of the videos had like over 400 views. So these podcasts is helping a lot of people. And they go off of your testimonies and they apply it to themselves, and they don't say, a lot of them don't say anything. They just watch it, and it either help them or make them angry. But it helped a lot of people. I just send there.
Okay, yeah. I see. Okay, next on my screen. Oh, you popped right on at the right time, Sister
There she
Ruka.
go. Mhm.
Shalom, guys. How y'all doing?
We're well. Shalom.
Bless y'all. I'm Aruka Yah. I'm originally from Los Angeles. I live in West Kentucky. I'm a mother of, so together we have 5 children, my husband and I. I have an adult daughter that's 23, and I have a little daughter that's 5, and the rest are boys. And I as I shared with some of my sisters earlier, I'm an identical twin, but yeah, but I'm the middle. So we have a older sister and then me, then my twin sister shortly after. And though I had a pretty good relationship with my mom, I don't know that her relationship with me was good. But but um but as I came to an understanding of my walk and my journey, I got a better understanding of why our relationship, it wasn't strained, but she has some feelings towards me that in recent months when I was back in California, she was able to share. And a lot of it's just Ruaco. There were spiritual things going on, and I was holding my mom to a hard standard when she was just trying to do her thing. At a young age, I had an understanding, and I was holding her to something she could not be. And I didn't know because I was just a little girl. So I just thank y'all for my mom. And I was not in the knowledge of the truth when I was raising my adult daughter, but I did come to the truth while she was like a teenager. And I just regret the life that I lived in front of her. I was very materialistic and worldly and really just about things that did not profit us. But I'm raising this little girl different in a covenant with my husband in the Most High. And I just, I'll say this and I'll depart. When I asked the Most High Yah what the understanding of generational curses was, this is what he revealed to me about 10 years ago. He showed me that it's the things we teach in unrighteousness and the things we fail to teach in righteousness. So when I came to the knowledge of the truth, you have to go back and clean up some of the mess you made when you was in unrighteousness. And that's just where I'm at with my adult daughter. She's great, she's a good girl. She works and she's in college. But I have to clean up some things that I taught her with the unbalanced understanding because I was headless. So I just thank y'all for allowing me to be humble enough to go back and teach different than I taught, but with the understanding of who we were created to be.
Mm-hmm.
That's it for me.
Oh,
Thank you. That's awesome. We have Terica. Did you want to speak on this?
I could say something for a quick second.
Okay.
Okay. So I'm Terica. I'm Raphaala's daughter. I would just say that I'm lucky enough to have a really good, healthy mother-daughter relationship. So I'm really blessed in that aspect of life. What I would say is like I feel one thing I'm learning, like I'm not a mother or anything like that yet, but like I'm learning that all the work that you need to do, like you have to start it as soon as possible. So when you do birth your child, they're not inheriting things that you already have within your womb and within yourself. And what else would I say? Yeah, I would say like the mother is really like the role model for the daughter, and they show them everything they see. 9 times out of 10, they're gonna imitate it because that's their first role model. That's the first person they see. So yeah, that's all I'll leave it with.
Indeed. Beautiful.
Sister Raphaala, I am not covered today. Can you please read Deuteronomy 28:56 for us?
28 and 56.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Anybody else need more time before we read it? We need to wait on anybody? Because I'm pretty much there. I make sure I keep this sword next to me. Stay prepared. All right. Deuteronomy chapter 28, verse 56, King James Version. The tender and delicate woman among you, which would not adventure to set the sole of her foot upon the ground for delicateness and tenderness, her eyes shall be evil toward the husband of her bosom, and toward her son, and toward her daughter. Go
So,
to 56.
no, we can stop right there.
Okay.
So, when I read that, I got to thinking, I've seen a few cases of this, you know, and not just dealing with the husband, but the children. I've seen mothers like hate their sons and their daughters. I've
Mm-hmm.
seen mothers who literally, like, I guess they see themselves in their daughters to the point they can't stand them, you know, and they just treat them horribly. But these are women who you wouldn't even think because they're so soft spoken and well mannered. And you're like, oh my God, I can't believe she would be that wicked to her own child, you know? So,
Mm-hmm.
a lot of things, everything may not necessarily go back to the curses, but a lot of things do kind of go back to the curses, you know? And
Yeah.
then me, because I'm always looking to, like, as far as like us, the Black people here in the Western Hemisphere that were a product of slavery. I also wonder how much did that also play a part in the way we deal with our children, because of the always being separated from the children, is it hard to grow these bonds, you know?
Mm-hmm.
Um, when it's how do I want to say it? Because it's not all toxic, so I don't want to make it seem like everything is just toxic. But okay, let's just keep it like this. Everybody knows Black women, especially single Black mothers, get a very hard rap in this community, right? Like you can't do no right, no matter what it was your fault. So,
Mm-hmm.
um, and sometimes I think the stress of that sometimes affects the way mothers may deal with their children, because I've heard it said to some people, oh, well, they will coddle their sons, but be so hard on their daughters. They will have their daughters be soldiers, but their sons get to mess up and do everything. And if you want to go, anybody who's ever read Willie Lynch, that was part of it. Them protecting the sons because they didn't want the masters to, kill them. And because you take down the strong man, so you take down the family. You take out the man, you kill the family. So is that could that be part of the reason why maybe there's that nurturing side is missing between mother and daughters? Why do it seem like as Black women do we raise our daughters too hard? Or are they lacking that love, that nurturing, that softness? Because we're always being called masculine, you know?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And who's supposed to teach us to be gentle if not our mothers, our grandmothers? But if we see them always having to be hard and they're hard with us. So does anyone agree or disagree with that?
I'll answer everybody after everybody else answer.
Sorry, I was trying to unmute. Um, I do believe that a lot of what we're seeing in our communities, and not just with the daughters and mothers, but with our people in general, it started on the plantation, and you really have to understand the thinking of the slave masters when they brought us here. They had a plan, and ultimately it it was confusion. It was disorder, confusion, and I would say it started even before they took us from the shores of where they found us. You had to force us into religion when we were not a historically religious people. When you had to put the unclean thing in us when we were, we did not partake in the unclean thing. We had to take our names, our books. In taking our names and taking our books and taking our Elohim, they took our roles from us too. When they put us in the field with our husbands, they took our roles from us. They confused the thing. And that's why we know a lot of this stems from Babylonian wickedness, which just means confusion by mixing. So a mixing happened in the roles historically. A mixing happened in our language historically. And then something I heard many years ago is how they took our men and beat and abused them in front of us. So who are we supposed to trust? We had to be strong. We were forced to be strong. Now, my mom had all three of us by the time she was 20. And remember, I'm an identical twin. And her and my dad, they were divorced by the time we were 2. My father never paid child support a day in his life. And he literally, when child support came a knocking, he quit his job, got rid of his place, and moved back in with his mom and died in the same room he grew up in. So there is some toxicity, but it doesn't stem from the mother and daughter. And even further back, it stems a lot of times from, like Princess Adah was saying, the mother and the son. My mother needed a head because her father died when she was 7. So when she married my father, she needed direction and a head. And he was like, this is getting too real for me. I'm going back home to my mom. And she was just left out there to figure it out at 22 with 3 children alone in Los Angeles. And it was brutal. And so I just think that, you know, like you said, Princess Adah, it doesn't all come from the curses. You're right. And it doesn't all come from the plantation, but we cannot deny that there is a foundation in the curses that got us to the plantation, and the plantation got us to where we are today. And until we seek out the ancient path, even unknowingly, we're going to be feeding back into that. If we're not doing something totally contrary to what we were indoctrinated into, we're going to be unknowingly feeding our next generations right back into the plantation mind and the curse. That's just what I think.
Thank you.
Ladies, if you all don't mind for a second, is it okay if I can read just a little bits and pieces of this Willie Lynch letter?
Go ahead.
Just as Sister Aruka was saying that the slavery plantation definitely played a huge part in the environment and the conditioning from our people going through that for over 200 and some years. It had a great effect on us even up to this day now. I'm looking at this Willie Lynch letter, and it was established in 1712 by Willie Lynch. And this is a letter that he gave to all the slave masters. And we all know that words are cast spells, right? Words are spells. I believe this Willie Lynch letter of 1712 was a spell cast on our people, which Deuteronomy 28 proves this to be so. This was supposed to be guaranteed to have a stronghold over the minds of our people for over 300 years. 300 years, this is supposed to keep us in check. And it says here, in my bag here, I have a foolproof method for controlling your Black slaves. I guarantee every one of you that if it is installed correctly, it will control the slaves for at least 300 years. My method is simple. Any member of your family or your overseer can use it. I have outlined a number of differences among the slaves, and I take these differences and make them bigger. I use fear, distrust, and envy for control purposes. These methods have worked on my modest plantation in the West Indies, and it will work throughout the South. Take this simple little list of differences and think about them. On the top of my list is age, but it is there only because it starts with an A, letter A. The second is color or shade. There is intelligence, size, sex, size plantations, status on plantations, attitude of owners, whether the slaves live in the valley, on the hill, east, west, north, south, have fine hair, have coarse hair, or is tall or short. I'm going to stop there, but I'm going to elaborate to the part where in this letter, it even has a section where it instructs the women slaves to condition the boys to be weak and what's the word I want to use? Codependent. Make the girls to be stronger and independent and don't need a man, but make the boy dependent and mentally codependent on the mother. And so that way this is going to affect the dynamics of the men, the gender wars, like the gender relationships. Make the woman not trust a man, make the man despise the woman, and so on and so forth. So that's my take on that part, ladies.
I know the part in that book you're talking about because it speaks of training them like horses. And you
Exactly.
basically teach the woman to eat out of your hands, the master's hand, the woman, but they will take the biggest slave man and beat him horrifically in front of them so that the next time around, though, all the women would control the men to keep them tame so that they wouldn't, get in trouble, so to speak. So they were meant to depend on the master, but not their own men. So they put their men in a position of being more their sons, even if they weren't their sons.
Exactly.
So with that being said, then, um, do you think that's carrying over into the way, like, we teach our daughters sometimes to just be so tough and you independent, don't depend on no man, you know what I mean? Don't be weak. And then as soon as they hit a certain age, get out, go out and make your own way. But our boys sometimes can stay home till they be 40 years old and nobody say anything. But push the girls out, you know what I mean? You think that's
Personally,
has something to do with that?
I have experienced that. I was trained, I was conditioned like that. And so was all the women in my family, going all the way back to 3 generations when I think about it. So I had to unlearn these toxic traits, and still got a little remnant that I'm working on, that my husband be reminding me. I had a real bad day the other day, ladies. I mean, I had a bad day. I'm talking about I was depressed just a few days ago, and I rarely ever go into a spirit like that. But he had to tell me, he said, you don't have to be tough all the time. He said, you don't have to be like that. He said, it's okay to cry. And he just held me, and he just held me. He just said, I love you. He said, you don't have to be tough all the time. And I was like, you're right. I'm like, I can't help it. So this is some of the things that I think a lot of other melanated sisters can relate to that.
Definitely that toughness. I remember, like, my grandmother, just being fully transparent, like, we speak, our grandmother was so mean. Not to all of us, but to a lot of the girls, she was very strict, very mean. And everything was based upon being fat. You could just be innocently outside playing, doing cartwheels, and bring your fast behind up in here, flipping around out there like that. And it was just like, my God, I'm just having fun. I just want to turn cartwheels. And how am I fast? Because I'm turning cartwheels. But, and I, most of my life, folks was like, she just mean. Why? And it
Mhm.
became almost a punishment to be sent to her house because you couldn't do nothing, and everything you just especially when it came to girls. She's very hard on us. Like, even to the point of she would always be concerned with men messing with little girls, but she put the burden on the child. Get away from that man. Men have nature. They don't be sitting on man lap. And it's like, but I'm the child. Why are you putting such this burden on me? Why are you so
Mhm.
hard on me? You know?
Mhm.
Instead of them. If you know that, then why you even got these men around us?
Exactly.
you know? But you being
Mhm.
but you treating me like I'm the bad person now. I'm growing up with, some type of, trauma in my mind, thinking I'm a bad person. I'm what's wrong with being a girl? You know?
Exactly.
Like, I mean, there were things that happened to me. Has anybody ever seen the movie Carrie? Um,
Oh
Remember when
yeah.
she started her cycle and her mother are like, that didn't happen to me, but I remember feeling very much shamed when mines came. Like something was wrong, like I was bad, like, oh my God. And I didn't even want to tell my mom. Like, and I'm like, what in the heck? Why wasn't I sat down and told that this was going to occur? you know, that I had to be so embarrassed that this was coming to me, And I think, like with my mom, it wasn't even a matter that she didn't want to. She just worked so much that there were a lot of talks she just didn't get to have. And I
Mhm.
kind of remember her just, you know, okay, this is what you need. This is the products. You use this and now go on your way. you know, there was no real detailed talks. Now it's all I hear now is don't get pregnant, don't get pregnant, don't be out here messing up and getting
Mhm.
pregnant. And there was no in between conversations,
Yeah.
about
It's
that.
and
So
it's like a lot of
and
us.
yeah,
Salakia sis.
no, go ahead, go ahead.
A lot of us was conditioned not to trust men at all. I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, sisters. I just want to throw that in there, Miss Sister Adah.
Yeah, because I
Mhm.
mean,
It is.
I'm sorry, go ahead.
It absolutely. I was actually told, about men. Don't sit around men. Don't, make sure you cover them. Make sure your skirts down. But surprisingly, a lot of things that I was taught really didn't come too much from my mom. It came mostly from my dad.
Hmm.
My father was not saying my mother wasn't around. Mom was always around. It's just my mom was the leader to the feminine where it came to makeup, hair, and all the other stuff. But talking about a menstrual, my dad talked to me about that before my mom did.
Wow.
When I
Mm.
had my first menstrual and I got to put my own stuff on blast, my dad came home from work. He patted me on the back and told me, "Congratulations, welcome to womanhood."
I know that's right. Mm.
So it was a different experience. My relationship with my mother, don't get me wrong, my mother's a wonderful person, but her mother, my grandmother dealt with a lot of mental illness.
Mm.
And
Mm.
back then they didn't know, they just call you crazy. So my mother sacrificed her education, a lot of things that she wanted to do to take care of her mother because her other siblings didn't.
Mm. Mhm.
So she was kind of limited to things. Not saying she's not an intelligent woman, but I'm just saying that her potential didn't get reached.
Mhm. Was she
So,
young when she had you, sister?
oh no, my mother was a spinster. She was 28 years old.
Oh my gosh.
I
Okay.
mean, we have to.
Sister Ruka.
Yeah, my mother. Here's it takes a step further. My mother was a
A
virgin. Was a
spinster.
virgin when she met my father. She was a virgin.
Oh, she was a good girl.
She was a good girl. Good girl. They actually knew each other when my dad was 10 and she was 5 when they first met.
Mm.
They were children. Their mothers knew each other. But with my mom, I love Nita. I love Nita. But Nita has always been about looks. She would tell me when I was younger, don't wear no red lipstick. You brown skin. My mom is a lighter skin, a lighter complected black woman. My father's darker skin. So it was always about what the world would see me as their beauty standard.
Mm.
And my mom would tell me, a lady doesn't do it, lady do it. But my mom was more into she to
Mm.
this day.
I
If
have a
I if my
question.
To this day, my mom is almost 70 years old. To this day, if I come over and they live across the street from me, and my dad will say, "Oh, baby, you lost weight," it's my mom, a teeny bit, teeny bit.
But
She still looks tough.
how many here have have teen mom was born through teen moms? I was.
I was.
Okay, just three of us. Well, my daughter is too, because I had her at 18. I was a teen mom too.
You know,
Um,
that has a big thing too because it's like you grow up with your mom. I think I grew up
yeah,
with my mom, you
yeah.
know?
I
Hmm.
was raised by grandma right along with my mom. Right next to me and my mom both was raised by my grandma. So that had a great impact on my relationship with my mother. I'll share that later.
I think Sister Elise had wanted to say something though.
Oh, go ahead, go ahead. And you guys, we're not even formal, so kind of just this girl talk. Just chime in.
Yeah. Oh goodness, yeah. No, I was just enjoying everybody's perspectives on things, and like I said, I was my situation. I was, of course, I was blessed to be able to be raised in a two-parent home and have a lot of structure, and also like when we were young, when I was younger, from a younger age and everything, I was able to be taught. Um, you know, I guess we have a really good foundation, and I think foundation is the main thing that is missing in the whole family dynamic and the mother and daughter dynamic. And listening to those like Willie Lynch letters and things like that that you were reading, and like everyone was talking about and stuff, like how they purposely took that out and they purposely wanted us to forget um what we did culturally, even just you can see that just from different stories of like with Rachel going to the well, and Rebecca being um you know had they had to go through the father and things of that nature. It was always that structure there that we don't have now. And um let me see, because my thoughts are kind of jumbled up. But no, my mom, like I said, we always kind of followed that Titus 2 format. And I like the perspective that Adah had on that verse 56 of Deuteronomy 28, when it talked about the tender and delicate woman. That's one of my mom's favorite verses, because you like you guys were talking about, making the woman strong and different things like that. It's like a balance. It's like a perfect balance that you have to have, because um my mom always say, we don't want to be a weak woman. You know what I'm saying? Like she wasn't doing or saying in a bad way, but like we can't be afraid to work with our hands. And she loves to use it for the garden, of course. Get out there and plant and get our hands dirty, touch the ground with our feet, and spread that down to our children and things like that. But let's see, what else was I trying to say? But yeah, it has to the whole structure, the whole foundation is just totally messed up, I think, among our people. And some women can't even bring that structure back because of different strongholds, because they don't have, like, the man in the home, or they don't have that family dynamic to even start it, like, so the woman can even spend more time with their children, hands on, one on one. We have to send them to school. We have to um start them off in daycare and stuff. We can't even bond with our daughters and things like that, when we're supposed to be uh their teachers and their role models and their inspiration, and then they can mimic us. And you know society has just got us all messed up, but yeah.
I would like to add to that, Sister Elise. You was talking about how the brokenness of our people. Because in my opinion, because we come from a people that is generationally broken, and we have some really toxic, unfortunate dynamics involving our people, which was a lot of our people are just so emotionally and mentally and spiritually broken. I believe a lot of our women, referring to women of color, Black women, um, we have to wear all these hats, and we are the most disrespected. We are the most unprotected. Like Malcolm X say, we got so much on us. It's like we have to wear a cape in our brokenness, and whether we're good or in bad shape or whatever, we still got to wear these capes, and we got a lot on us. And it's like the world expects us to be able to function in two different roles, because I feel like for the last 50 years we had to carry the whole family on our backs for the last 50 years. And a lot of us didn't even get a chance to get no type of mental therapy. We don't have half of us don't have nobody to talk to. And so we ended up possibly being raised by these women that were broken. And a lot of them didn't love themselves. They were hurt. They had broken hearts. And I think they put off some of that energy on us, the younger generations. And then we carried that into that negative low vibrational energy onto the next generation. And then a lot of the fathers were not there during the pregnancies of the mothers or even after the childbirth to take on some of that burden that we had to carry. And so we actually have some of our women, they take the anger out on the baby, on the child, and the child don't even understand what's going on. Well, why my mother don't like me? Why she treat me like this? Why she talking to me like I'm a dog? Maybe because she look at you and you look just like your daddy, and she can't stand that booger. And so she love you, but she can't help it. But then we have some of our women, a lot of them are emotionally immature. So if they don't have that emotional maturity to be able to balance all that out and to be able to separate their feelings from your father and you, it's gonna get taken out on you. And so I believe a lot of our women, we had to deal with that. I can experience
Yeah.
that.
My
I went through
Yeah.
grandmother,
that.
my dad's mother, she raised 10 kids by herself, my dad's mother.
Woo, woo.
And she later on lost her eyesight. My grandma Ola. My granddaddy, and I can say this full heartedly, and he's passed on now, he was a punk. Punk. The last time I talked to that man, I met him when I was 4 years old. He called me when I was 19, getting ready to go to high school, going to college. And the first thing came out of his mouth was he called my grandma a BITC. Now, she had been long dead. And I had to defend my grandmother. And I realized that that's the reason why my father raised me the way he was, because he was raised by a single mother. My grandmother sacrificed. She became a teen mother at 16, married up at 16, had a baby, kept having babies. My granddaddy was immature, kept leaving her, and every time he came back, she got pregnant again until the last time she put her foot down, and he didn't come back no more. And that was in the 60s. And I think about the stories of what my father would talk about his mother. He put so much reverence on her, talking about the time when cold in Chicago and she didn't have no pantyhose, and she would take his sweater, wrap it around herself to stay warm to get bags of groceries. Or, and she was young and had so many children, she would go back down to Mississippi where her family came from and get down there and be a freedom writer and try to bring the civil rights movement to her area of Chicago to try to free. And I was like, why did she do it? Because she wanted her next generation to be better. My grandmother went through hell. Hell. She fought. And I think about my father and how he wanted me to be tough because that's all he knew. My grandma didn't get a chance to really be soft like that. She may dress and put makeup on, but she was hardcore. Then she loses one of my aunties, my dad's sister, was murdered. So she loses a baby to murder and rape. and the grandchild. And she had to still keep fighting and fighting until her last breath. I talked to my husband recently, and he's from Africa, and he made a comment about women. And he said, and I said, why are you respect her so much? He said, because next to the Most High, you guys are very precious. Y'all the givers of life. He said, and the American-born Black woman, he said, I commend y'all. Because y'all don't get no breaks. And I'm not martyring my grandmother. I'm not going to she was a martyr. She was tough on me. She lived with us until I was 12 years old and she passed away. And I was kind of a softie. And she was tough on me. I would serve her food. She wouldn't say thank you. She was blind. She would reach for me and she would hear my voice. So she favored my sister more than me. She loved the way my sister is because she's a spinning attitude. And she would touch my arm and she said, oh, you lose some weight, girl. And one day I asked my grandma, I said, Grandma, why do you hate me so much? She said, I don't hate you. But if I don't toughen you up now, right now, you're going to turn up and be a woman. You're going to meet the wrong kind of man. You might, because you're too nice. And you might have to go through what I went through. So I'm preparing you now when I'm not here. And it's sad that our sisters have to toughen up so badly that we can't be sugar. We can't give a little sugar. Getting prepared for the other shoe to drop.
Yeah.
She was so hurt and she dealt with her hurt and she put her hurt inside of herself and she fought so hard that she made sure that her granddaughters wouldn't have to go through what she went through.
You about to make me cry.
I miss her. I miss that lady. It's sad. And we're not here on this call tonight, this meeting tonight, for anybody to feel sorry for us. But they need to understand we are the backbone of the race on this side. We carry everything. We never get a thank. We hardly ever get a thank you. And I don't want nobody to think, like I said, I don't want nobody to feel sorry for us. But you know what? People need to understand. It ain't easy being a FBA woman.
No, it's not.
No. We didn't ask for this job. It was just assigned us by society. And we still have to learn how to get the balance.
You know, some people may not understand when you say FBA. What's FBA?
Foundational Black American. Those of us who were born on this land, on this side.
Descendants.
We are the descendants. We are our foremothers. Had to deal with being raped and abused. And still some of them were brave enough to go out there and try to help the Union Army to get free. Hiding things in their dresses. Or braiding food in our hair for the journeys.
Our sister Maisha wanted to speak. I'm sorry. I didn't know if you guys saw her.
Oh, I saw her. I was just waiting. I was.
Maisha.
Sorry.
Okay.
I'm sorry.
Go ahead, Sister Maisha.
I just wanted to quickly step in real quick, you guys. Bless evening, everybody. Maisha from Riverview, Florida.
Peace and love, sister.
Peace and love. I just wanted to quickly say this. We don't need sympathy. We're not even asking for sympathy, but for some reason, we're not even extended grace for anything. And it's so sad that for us as Black women, a lot of times, I think the mother-daughter dynamic comes in is because we are so stressed and overwhelmed and overworked and overburdened and carrying loads that are not even ours. By the time it gets to our daughters or time our mothers get to us, they're exhausted. Exhaustion. And it's so sad. And to point out what the previous lady had said, and I You all had me over here almost in tears. My grandmother instilled that into us because I had a grandmother that was married. However, and we married for 60 years. And it wasn't until I got into my adult years, I didn't understand how broken their marriage was. My granddaddy cheated the whole time, the whole time, the night of their wedding. He married her for a specific purpose because she was a certain type of woman that he was looking for, and it was just like a put up woman in the house. So it transformed over into my mother or whatever, and she was hard on me. My mother did not raise me like that. It was my aunts, and it was just so, by the time, because when my grandmother had my mom, she was older, like 40 years old, and she was so wore out from the marriage till she didn't even have enough left over of love to even provide my mom, which in return came over to us. And so it's so hard trying to undo everything that you've learned, especially when it comes. I have one daughter, and you're trying to navigate. You're trying to get your daughter to see, because I had my daughter young. So I actually grew up with her. And so now, as I'm approaching 40, I'm trying to, I wasn't a bad mother, but I felt like I had a lot of areas that need improvement that I've been able to make up for over the years because I wasn't right. I didn't know how. My mom didn't have a maternal instinct. And one thing that I saw in my family, and I don't know if we touched on it, sometimes it wasn't a maternal instincts. And I know some was like, because of your daddy, a lot of things was done in these households that was told to stay in these households. You get what I'm saying? So they don't like the father, not because they left him, but because it was due to rape. Some of these men's in the family ain't right. So they looking at that man that has touched them and did something wrong to them. And there's, how do we fix that? How can we tell that woman who was touched, and this child is a resemblance of that man? How do we tell her to distinguish between that child and this man that did so wrong to her? How do we get past that? Because it's a lot of that right here in our door. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So I'm traveling, but I just wanted to quickly put that question out there because I know sometimes it comes off that we may be bitter, but it could be that somebody is dealing, with a child of rape. Mm-hmm. And so how do that mother, how does she become maternal to that child? What do we do to make sure that child is loved?
I think that's when we need the village. That's where the sisterhood should come into play. When we should be able to see when our sisters are struggling with their children and be able to step up for them. Unfortunately, especially nowadays, everybody's like, mind your business. If you dare try to, hey, sis, I'm here, I got you, I see you struggling, but I wish we had that, because we could probably eliminate CPS if we had more of the sister and sisterhood, because when you going through, look, like for me, I'm somewhat of an empty nest, right? My children are grown, but there may be a sister who's going through something, like, girl, if you don't come drop them babies to me and go catch a break before you really break them, you understand me? But that's what we need, because you may not have the girl. Like for me, my mother passed 3 years ago. I don't have a grandmother no more. I don't have my mother no more. I don't even really have aunties anymore, right? So I don't really have the village except for my sisters, right? So I always think, I want to be that for someone, though, because I understand even more now that my mother is gone, just how important that village is, that extended family, you know what I mean? Because I think there used to be that, even with all the brokenness and the toxicity that our people were going through, they used to have a village. You used to could go to your neighbors when you didn't have groceries. Another woman could help you feed your kids and look out for your children while you went and worked. You know what I mean? With y'all bartered with each other. Well, girl, I can't pay you money, but you watch mine Tuesday and Thursday. I watch yours Wednesdays and Fridays. You know what I mean? And then that's how we'll get through. But now I don't even think we have that as much as we used to. And I don't really know why and where we fell apart in that way. I wish somebody could answer that.
Well, could I say, I had my daughter at 21, and my twin sister had a daughter at 19. So we lived together for a few years where she had a child and I didn't. And we lived, now we're from LA. So we lived in a pretty bad neighborhood, but the apartment complex we lived in, I first want to say it like this. That which you speak of, Princess Adah, is here. But it's in such small pockets of our society, and it's so personal and it's so internal. Our apartment building, I don't know if you know anything about LA, but on 120th and Vermont, and it was wild over there. It was in the middle of two gang territories. It was real.
Mm.
And all the older women in our building looked out for me and my sister. Now we were young adults, but there were teenage kids who parents was knocking them upside their head, throwing them out, and we was taking them kids in. We had little kids and we were taking them in. And also when we were having children, the older women, I mean, my mom stayed 2 blocks down the street, but she had her own stuff going on, so she couldn't really be there, I guess, like a grandmother should have been. But there were so many women in our building that fed us, and me and my sister were both working multiple jobs, and we couldn't even afford food a lot of time. We could keep a roof over our head and like a bus pass to get to work, diapers, but food sometimes was hard for us. For a long time, it was just difficult to keep food. Our neighbors fed us. They would drop us off at work if they was going that way. And for many years, we had that family dynamic that was not blood relatives, but was just women who understood. But we were also that because we were young and we had our own place. We were that for those women too, whose kids was getting out of control. And I mean, no lie, I can remember pulling out a belt and going in on somebody's child who was acting a fool with their mama working 2 jobs and getting bad grades to this day. And then that girl, that same girl, grew up. She's married and has kids. And when she became a teenager, she helped me with my daughter. And right now they have a beautiful relationship. Here we are 20 some years, 23, 24 years later. So, but I loved her enough to put that belt on her back too, because after getting off her mom getting off her second job, she just didn't have the energy. She didn't have a day off for like 3 months straight. So we had that. And I will say this too. My mom raised us alone, but we come from a very patriarchal family. So my mom's uncles, they ruled us with order and love, but they were real men. They were husbands to their wives. When it was mess in my mama house, it was an uncle coming in with a key, and it was straight out. And if it was a boyfriend that my mom had or my auntie that didn't want to leave, they came with their friends and they dealt with this. So we were raised, though we were raised in the hood, we were raised in a very structured, tight knit, patriarchal family. I want to say this though about the mother-daughter dynamic. My mom, though my father was the man she knew, from high school, and they married and he left her when we were little. My mother never spoke bad about my father. And my twin sister and I have his face. Our big sister too. We all have his face. She never spoke bad. She never talked. She encouraged us to have a relationship with him. And even when we met him for the first time when we were like 8, he walked right in the door. He didn't even knock. We didn't even know who he was. My sister even called the police because we just thought he was an intruder. But ultimately, she wanted us to meet him. And she said the door will be unlocked when you're ready to come. So when I was raising my daughter and I did not, her father and I did not stay together, I never spoke bad about her dad. I never, I always encouraged her to have a relationship with him, though he and I were not together. But here's another side of that dynamic. So my mom's big sister, her and her husband divorced, and she has 2 daughters as well. Now they are very religious, Jehovah's Witnesses, and very structured, very religious outwardly. But my aunt hated my uncle. And she taught that hatred to her daughters, who, in the worldly sense, have become very successful. but not in matters of love. Neither of them have children. They're 50 and 48. They've never bore children, and they can't even keep functioning relationships. They can't even cleave to men because they were taught that direct hatred, because the mother, and I'm gonna put it out there, because she failed to separate her feelings towards a man, some grown-up stuff that happened, from what she wanted her daughters to become. And so I saw this dynamic as a young girl. This is my mom's sister, my mom's only sister, and we were all raised very close. But my mom, though we were poor, though we struggled, we didn't have the money they had, we didn't have the cars they had, we didn't have a house they had, we didn't have anything they had. But my mom taught us to love and respect my father. And then my aunt, raised in that same patriarchal family because of religion, took her and her children away from that. So I'm pointing out how we have a choice as women. You know, I was reading Psalm 103, ladies, and I just want to read one verse from there if you don't mind. It says 13. It says, bless Yah. It says, like a father pities his children, so Yahuwah pities them that fear him. I always thought children were pitiful. They can't eat, they can't get their own butt clean. If you don't love them enough to give of yourself, they will literally die. If you don't love a child, they can die in their youth. I learned this. So from a very young age, and I raised children from young, I knew that they were pitiful, pitiful. And it was going to have to take something that sometimes I didn't see to raise and protect and teach children. My mom was very loving towards us, though, but she went through a lot trying to raise us. But she kept a roof over our heads. She worked, she provided for us, and she gave us hugs and kisses, and she taught us how to read our Bibles. And I feel like sometimes as daughters, sometimes we can make decisions that take our lives in a wrong direction, and we can start looking at the mother. Because like you said, Raphaala, everybody blame mama. Everybody blame mama because she's the only one around. Nobody's blaming daddy while he's over there living, or if you grew up in that dynamic. I did, but we didn't blame my father. My mom explained to us, your father was raised to be a son, not a leader of a household. I understood that very young. So the expectation, there was no room for disappointment because the expectation wasn't there. He was a friend of mine till the day he died. And so I chose to love my daughter, to teach my daughter, to talk well of her father, even though, he did me away. But that's not her business, because my desire is that she grow a strong bond with him so she can one day be a 50% of a strong bond with a man. But if I tear down the father-daughter thing, what could I expect from my child? And so I think sometimes we have to come outside of our hurt and think, as a victim, do we want to then become the victimizer? And I didn't want to do that. And it's a choice, in my opinion. It's a choice to teach your daughters, even different if you were taught wrong. You have a choice.
Yeah,
Absolutely. I'm a mother of three boys. My oldest brother, we have like I said, my parents been married for almost 40 years, but before my dad got my mom, he had a son. My oldest brother's mother was a monster. She abused my brother, blacked his eyes, everything because he looked just like my dad. And now my brother is almost 50 and he's still a child. He's still a child. And he's got children. And now the children are suffering. So now my dad has to step in and try to help his grandbabies. Even though me and my children's father did not make it, we are not the best of friends. We don't talk. My kids are autistic. The last one, he left me with the last one. He was 1 year old. He ain't seen them since. And that's okay. The reason why I don't bash him and I don't come at him. For real, I was hurt. I was very hurt. I'm like, you leave me with these kids and da. And then I come to the realization one day, if you don't study the mother of the man you lay down with to get you prepared for what you're going to have babies with, because I realized his mother didn't raise him. She was young. His grandmother raised him. She wasn't the best. So that was a red flag. But my thing was is that now I got a chance. Like I told his grandmother who raised him, I said, you didn't do right by senior, but you ain't gonna mess over junior. My biggest fear in life as a mother is that some young lady come crying to me because my boys have hurt them or abused them or mishandled them. So that's why I tell my sons, I'm like, look, man, hey, you're not gonna do what your daddy did. I don't talk against their father. I don't let the hurt, and it took me a while because I had to get over my pain of being abandoned. But it's not their fault.
Mhm.
They didn't ask for this.
Mhm.
And we as women, we even those of us who grew up with fathers. I grew up with a wonderful daddy. My dad, I love my dad. He lived across the street from me. I love him.
Mhm.
He was so engulfed with trying to make sure I didn't become a teen mother like his mom that he didn't really show me what to look for in love. Don't get me wrong, he loves my mother beautifully, but he didn't show me. And his biggest regret is that I didn't get that kind of love until now that I met my husband now.
Mhm. Mhm.
And a lot of people say they put all the stress on the woman. Yeah, because we're the first teacher of the children. They
That's
with us all. They come out of our womb. The first voice that babies hear is ours.
Mhm.
We're carrying them. We are feeding them. We're feeding not their bodies, but we're feeding their souls.
Mhm. That part.
That's
Mhm.
a powerful gift to be in control of.
Mhm.
That in your womb, you can change a whole generation. You can change the world just from within your womb.
Mhm.
That's powerful. That's beautiful. And like you said, sister, I commend you too. We did not take our frustrations out on these daddies, on these babies.
Mhm.
Because we know if we let them out in the world, they're going to make somebody else's life a living hell.
Yeah.
I'm so proud of my son, my 11, I'm so proud of Isaac, my 11-year-old son. When he sees a young lady, he opens the door for him. He sees a young lady, he sees a flower on the ground, he picks it up and gives it to him. He said, here you go, queen.
Mhm.
Here you go, sister. You're
Mhm.
welcome, sister.
Mhm. You know,
I'm proud of
uh,
you.
you know,
And
you
you could be
uh
proud.
I also struggle. I had a very difficult relationship with my dad. We're doing so much better now in 2025, but the first 30 years of my life, it was rocky, rocky, rocky. We did not do good at all. And I learned that my mother had a very difficult relationship with her mother. And so out of result of that, it left my mother with a little bit of low self-esteem. And she also struggled with some self-love herself. So she didn't have a whole lot of it to give to me. But she loved me the best she could, the best she knew how. But she wasn't all the way healed and she wasn't all the way well. And so I got the effects of that. And then plus, you know, as I was mentioning before, when a lot of our sisters are having babies from these men that are not loving them properly, especially while they're pregnant, that love that they supposed to get the love from the man and then it spills over into the child. So if they're not getting that from that man, they're not gonna have a whole lot to spill into that child unless they have a whole lot of willpower. You know what I'm saying? So I wanted to add that, you guys.
No, I was just gonna chime in a little bit after Sister Rafaela mentioned that, and I was hearing some more from Ola, and I was just gonna bring it back to something that my mom always, one of her favorite things, she liked to get into pictograph and break down the different Hebraic letters
Mhm.
and the actual, you know, resemblance of how it how it creates almost like a story, the pictograph from Hebrew letters. And I think, like, because I'm hearing a lot with the fathers and the dynamic of not only mother and daughter dynamic, but how can we have that mother and daughter dynamic, like y'all was saying too, like unless there was good relationships with the fathers, or just different family dynamics to start with. And um, it's almost like we need like a generational reset button, starting with the children that we're having now in this generation and on. We need to hit a reset button with all of our people, because it's it's sad, all the stories to hear, things that happened. I'm hearing them. I didn't go through that, but I'm hearing them, and it's sad to hear it, some of the struggles that women had to go through, and even amongst their fathers, someone who they're supposed to be able to trust and lean on for strength, because the Hebrew word for father is Av, and then you have the ancient pictograph letters, which is this something my mom always brings out, is the Aleph, and that's the first letter, which is like a picture of an ox head, and that symbolizes strength. The ox head symbolizes strength, and the letter Beth or Bet is the second letter, and that is a picture of a house and symbolizing a home. So combined, they represent the strength of a house, and it's supposed to be like the father, or the head of the household. He's supposed to be the strength, and we have to get back to that, with the fathers being like the protectors and the strength of the home. And then, like you said, if there was a woman that um was in, if he is the strength of the home or the protector of the home, and he holds up his home with strength, then he's able to allow the woman to become who she needs to be, for her children, for her daughters, and also just protecting them as well. Because like we don't believe in, that whole westernized thinking of, sending the daughters out and doing this, that, and the third. They're going to be in our home. I was in my father's home until I was married, um, protected, and so forth and so on. And then also the mother, the first word for the mother is also an ox. So she has strength as well. And then the second letter for her is like mem, which is the like representing like strong water, or you know, she's also, that also can be symbolized as like the family glue. She provides like that strength and support. She's able to handle to hold the family together and bind the family together, um, and be that glue. But the mom can't do that unless, she has that support from the father, and that whole family dynamic and that whole family structure is created back together. And that's what we need to, I think, hit that reset button and get back to, so we can be that glue for our homes and for our children, for our daughters especially, you know so they have a place where they feel protected and loved and inspired, and just taught day to day by us.
Do you
So
ladies
that's pretty
feel
much it.
um oh, that's beautiful, sister. I'm Salakia for interrupting you. How do y'all feel about mothers being jealous of their daughters? Do you think that that's a factor too?
Yes.
Most definitely.
Hmm.
I've had a friend like that. She had her mother, she was very pretty, and her mother would tear her down about every little thing about herself. I'm like, and when I said, what is wrong with her?
Hmm. And we also have some mothers that are overbearing too. And so that's why you have to set boundaries with these mothers, especially when you get older and you don't let them interfere with your personal home space, and they affect your marriage and that
Mhm.
type of thing. So there's a lot going on. I mean, you all should hear some of these phone calls that I've been getting for the past 2 years.
Yeah, because I believe sometimes the mothers believe that they get jealous, not typically about the daughter themselves, but what she represents. She may be able to have the life that she sees that she feels she cannot have. And I believe the reset is necessary, but in order for the reset to be actually effective, I believe that women need to start being honest with themselves and everyone around them. They are so busy thinking about people are going to judge them on how they feel. And if you don't like your daughter, or if it's, you need to get to the root of the problem. A lot of times they're not liking themselves. They're not loving themselves enough. So they have no capacity to actually, and I start telling, I had to heal myself. I've never had an issue with loving my children, but I could not give them the full version of me until I myself was healed.
Exactly. I had to go through the same thing.
Yeah, people skip over the healing part.
Yeah.
Skip over the healing and think they just gonna have this thing down, and that's not how it works. If you do not address, I mean, Maisha said it perfectly. What are you pouring from if your cup is empty?
Right.
If you don't love you, if you don't respect you, if you haven't dealt with the things that have hurt you, how can you then give that to somebody else when at night you're alone with you?
Right.
But
So
I just want,
we need to detox collectively. So how do you press the reset button? How do we heal?
I think
Accountability.
it goes back to that sisterhood. I'm telling you, we got to learn how to lean on each other a little more too, because like with Sister Alyssa, like she said, she didn't have, you know, the drama, so to speak, you know, in her. So she's already a whole woman who can help someone who is,
Mhm.
you know, like I go back to like when Sister Ruka was speaking about growing up and the whole complex was like her village basically, right?
it was.
When I lived in California, I'm sorry, hold on.
Mhm. I was just gonna say, while their sister Adah was putting us on hold, you know, somebody benefits from us being outside of that natural order. Somebody benefits, and there are principalities and there are people who, because Elise says something real. When a woman can't be in her natural role, when you're left alone with a child, now you're out working. So your child is in a daycare. You know, they're eating food that is not prepared with your hands. Somebody's opening up their diaper and changing them. I just could not live that life. So I did work under the table until my daughter was old enough where I could put her in a school and she knew how to do things for herself. But everybody, like I said, in my younger years, I lived in a place that was like a village, and we did do for everybody, did for everybody. Nobody went without, even if you didn't have a job or nothing. But someone's benefiting from us being outside of the natural roles we were created to be in. And I wonder if that's not a good place to start. Because once you understand the systematic things that your enemy has in place for you, you can start praying against it and setting up your life and the life of your children coming after you against it. We don't assimilate. Me and my husband, our kids, assimilation is not an option. Period. And I don't care how anybody feels about it, because I have the option, because we set up our life to have the choice to integrate into a society that we know has things in place to cause the downfall and destruction of us, or we could withdraw and live set apart. And a lot of stuff is a choice. But I wonder if that foundational getting an understanding of what we're up against is a good place to start in going forward in healing and changing the things that were, so that something different can come. Please forgive me, Princess.
Oh no, go ahead. My daughter, I had all this chaos in the background. But what I was gonna say was, growing up, like this is one of the things I miss about California, because I felt like we had village there, especially when growing up, I remember my mom, right? One of the first lady at our church, she had some health issues, so she couldn't breastfeed her baby. And my mom had just had a baby, my youngest sister. So my mom breastfed her baby for her while she was sick, you know. And then there was another lady also in the church who helped her in the same way with another child to help nurse her baby, you know. I'm not saying people won't do that today, but I thought that was really, I mean, as a kid at first we thought it was weird, but now that I go back and look at it, I think how wonderful that was, because my mom had that sisterhood with a lot of women. I remember she had friends who would give her clothes for my siblings or for herself. You know, they would, if they were cooking, like, sister, come over here. I'm cooking. Her family bring them over here. We always had somebody around us. Somebody was always living with us because they were a village. They had that sisterhood. And, like I'm here in Texas by myself, so I kind of miss that. But I always think that that's why I'm so big on sisterhood, because I've seen it with my mom. That was her village, because she wasn't really close to her mother, so to speak. And her sister had passed on. So she really leaned on her friends as her village, as her sisters. And I saw that. And she had that love everywhere she went with her friends, and they really did look out for each other. So I always wanted that as I became an adult.
Mm-hmm. That's beautiful, ladies. We actually have a lot of sisters who didn't grow up with that type of support. And we had a lot of sisters that didn't come up with that village environment. And it's so fortunate that you ladies had that. I guess it's gonna be up to us to break these curses on our people, and then we're gonna have to take the initiative to like kind of bring that back into reality and reach out to these single mothers. Reach out, and we also had a lot of sisters that grew up in foster homes too. Anybody here grew up in foster care? One of the sisters in here just said she grew up in foster care. And see, we have sisters like these, I mean, us sisters who had it good like that, we really do need to reach out and help our sisters that don't have that.
And accountability.
Yeah,
I think
absolutely.
a lot of things we do a lot of smoke screening. We do a lot of deflecting. We deflect a lot, and we need to stop that. Okay, it's like what we're allowing right now in our generation, in this new generation, is appalling.
Mm-hmm.
And first thing is people say, "Oh, just let them live. They're having fun." No, you're representing me, baby girl. I may not have biological daughters, but I do have stepdaughters.
Mm-hmm.
And even when I walk outside and I see little young, I went to my kids' school, my oldest son's school, and there was a guy working in the front desk, and there was a young girl. Her skirt was just as high, you could see her panties. I'm like, baby, pull that skirt down. Now the gentleman who was at the desk, I'm like, well, you need to. I said, no, 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 that's not your place. I said, I'm a mama. Let me talk to her because I'm auntie level. I'm almost 40. I'm auntie set. I said, baby, she was yelling and cussing. I said, baby, calm down. Calm down. I know you're hurting.
You
Please
know,
pull your skirt down, baby. Okay? Yes, ma'am. She calmed down. After all the snapping and popping and rolling her eyes and, slicking her edges down and nails clapping, clapping, clapping,
mhm,
she brought it down.
mhm,
And he said, how can you do that? I said, because I talked to her like a mother.
mhm, mhm.
You
Yep.
probably don't have a father at home. You think she's gonna listen to some man?
Mhm. Sisters, I was a single mom for 20 years straight, and I purposely did not bring a man into my home because I didn't want nobody beating on my son, and I didn't want to worry about no man raping my daughters while I'm at work and when I'm not in the house because I was paranoid like that. You ladies remember I was telling you all about the conditioning that I had when I was growing up. And did you all know that I took all my daughter's friends under my wings? If you were best friends to my daughters, I took you under my wings. And I was like a mother to them too. I bought them clothes. I let them stay in my house for the weekend. I took them to when I back then I was going to church back then. I took them to church with me. So I already had this mindset before I even came into the truth because my heart went out to little black girls. And that's what we have to do. So I'm just not sitting here just running my chops. I did this. I actually did this. I'll be 49 years old this year. I did this. And I'm going to continue to do that because nobody is coming to save us, y'all. We got to save ourselves. And it's going to start with us.
Do you think we have a responsibility, especially those women of faith, because the brothers, they're always either on the corner or somewhere, as they say, crying aloud, about sins and repentance, right? So, is it Titus where it's telling us how we're supposed to teach the women, right? Do you think we have a responsibility, even if they're not Israelite, if they're not, in our family, to correct and train other youth that we see? Do we have a responsibility to that?
It
Absolutely.
is our mandate to our village, to our next generation,
Says
to
bear one another's
strive. It's our
burdens.
mandate. It's our mandate.
Bear one another's burdens.
Those are our baby. I don't care if it came out my womb. I don't care if you're my cousin, my niece. You are all my babies.
Yep.
You're my princesses. And if I see my little princess out there in danger, it's the most high right that he gave us as mothers to protect them. They are the next generation. They're going to be the next mothers and grandmothers. They're going to be the one that might change this world.
And
You just got
my daughters
one.
are in their 20s. I'm still in touch with my children's best friends to this day. I send them scriptures. I text them scriptures. Half of them don't respond. They don't even put hearts on it or nothing. But they's gonna still get those scriptures. You hear me? So
Everything is about a balance. Whether a person is a religious person or whatever faith you walk by, it's all a balance, and we have to handle every individual accordingly and know their story so you can understand how to deal with them and understand how to get them to receive.
mm,
And everybody is not in the same matter of households where some people were raised in households with two parents and it was still all kinds of stuff going on and still all kinds of abuse and molestation with two parents in a household. Then there
it,
was some people with one parent in a household and it was still all kinds of abuse and molestation, and that didn't make the mother any less than a mother who had a husband in the house. So no one who had just one father, one parent looked like they was unfortunate than someone who had two parents, because two parents sometimes they felt like for the sake of the children they were supposed to be together, which is still an unhealthy situation. Mother daughter, I didn't want to get off topic because I know that's but the mother daughter dynamic, um, it starts, yes, with the woman.
indeed.
My biological mother, she was not um, she was afflicted as a child. As I learned to see, it took a minute because I was a little bit resentful that why did my mother love me? From a childhood, I remember being beaten when I was in Pampers. I shouldn't even remember something like that, but I was being beaten in Pampers.
Mm,
What could I have done so badly that I'm getting beaten like that? And she had things going on with her that one of my uncles molested her.
mm,
And then I found out things after she passed. A woman who grew up with my mother and my uncle, she was always family, been around since way before I was ever born. Something comes out about how my mom was pointing me off to men when I was a toddler. I don't
mm,
even remember it. Some people expected me to be angry about it, but I'm like, well, I don't even know. I don't have a recollection of it, but it did explain my tensity when it came to me performing when I had sex with men. My ex-husband would say that I was so tense, and I didn't understand why he was saying that. I didn't understand, but I get it now. There was something that did happen to me by not just any men that she. I don't know how. I don't know how many men or what happened, but I was told it happened.
mm,
Um, so now it goes to the spiritually rooted diseases, spiritually rooted curses like endometriosis, which deals with mother-daughter relationships. And sometimes we don't understand why we may end up with these particular things in our bodies, or cervical cancer or stuff like that. It's dealing with the hardship of situations and relationships. A lot of it is stress, a lot of it is mental, a lot of it has nothing to do with necessarily just physical diet. It's a lot of it from the beginning of the household.
mm,
And when we are when we are I was 5 years old, and my mom said to me, I remember this like it was yesterday. She said, "You think you Miss Holier Than Thou, Miss High and Mighty, you little heifer." But I'm 5. I don't even know what those words mean. I didn't understand why she said that. And then I was told as I grew up, yeah, you was something else with your mouth. So I'm like,
mm,
well, what could I possibly say? I must have been rebuke in a household as a child, as the spirit can come upon a child, and a child can rebuke the whole household to make everybody feel some type of way. So I was hated by my family and still am to this day. Still am to this day. And I didn't have a sisterhood. I wish I had a sister.
Mm.
I wish I had a sister. And then every time I thought I was building a sisterhood, when I was amongst the Hebrew Israelite community, I have one sister right now. We're still close. I have you too. Even though we haven't talked much, I'm honored to always, have conversations with you guys. But I looked at it as if I did have a biological sister, which she had followed the ways of my mother, and we still wouldn't have got along because I've been burned by some women who literally reminded me of the same spirit of my mother, where my mom had she laid with my fiance. She laid with all of her friends' husbands. And this is going back to her affliction as a child. It took me a minute to really grasp the deep understanding of this, where these things come from. My grandfather is leaving out at night to go to work, and he's expecting his sons to take care of his princess, their little sister. And this is what happens when he's gone. So it can cause a lot of hardship. My mom didn't have hardship with men. She wasn't harsh with men. She was harsh with me. We never got along. When that time came when she passed, I was the only one there that took care of her to her last breath. And when it comes to community, there was none. It was a few women that were older women who were around, and they were the only elders that I very to this day admired. That they passed now. But other than that, I never knew my grandmothers because they passed before I was even conceived or ever thought of. My first grandmother, my grandfather's first wife passed um, when my mother was a baby, so she never knew her biological mother. And then he got married again, right around, a little later on, from what I was told, to my step grandmother. She passed before I was even thought of. I never knew none of my grandmothers, and I wish that they were there. One is there in spirit, step grandmother. That's a totally different story. But um, there's it starts with it doesn't matter what religion we're in or faith we're in, because everybody has a special gift to give to someone, or everybody has a role to play. And I will say this, that I have seen a lot of us sisters turn away Muslim sisters just because they were Muslim and they wasn't doing the Sabbath. That is wrong and that's a crime. We're not
Yes.
dealing with one another. She don't do the Sabbath, he's not doing this, cut them off, cut that family off. We'll do it with our own family unless the man tells us not to, because he don't want to deal with the wife's family. Oh, they ain't doing the Sabbath, so I ain't got to respect your family or your father or your mother. This is the problem. So there are women out there who are very, very matriarchal, not patriarchal. Okay, and they still got some wonderful jewels and gems about them, but we turn them away because they're not doing the Sabbath. And they got a whole bunch of things of wisdom going on with them that half of people may not even know nothing of, because people may be stuck in doctrine and stuck in law. But there's other things. There are people that can be used
Right.
for different things. There are doulas. There are women who still deliver babies that the ancestors come into them, but because it sounds so evil, nobody want to deal with them. So people in the faith still going to the hospitals, delivering themselves in the pool at home, where in this tap water. You go in a big pool of tap water, but you won't drink the tap water. We're not understanding. We have to come together as a sisterhood.
Absolutely.
And this is going beyond even us. We are the great daughters. The colored women are the great daughters. So we can even still coexist with any colored woman, because this is all about the women. We shouldn't turn nobody away. That's where it starts with great character. We shouldn't turn nobody away. There are some wild stuff going on. There are some mothers who are demons. They were meant to afflict their children. Not that it's to be taken personal. It's because that child was a chosen and enlightened child, and that child came here on its contract that it was going to go through hardship. The ones who go through the most hardship are the ones that are chosen, that they are supposed to have something great coming for them when that time comes, when we endure this big test. So if we, some of us, if we were loved too much by our families, we would never seek the Most High. we would never elevate and go in other places and graduate to the next level because we're supposed to graduate. We're supposed to stay in one place. So we too comfortable wanting our families to just cleave to us, like the worldly way. You have your earthly family and then you have your soul tribe. You have your soul family. Your soul family is going to help you write out your contract and live out your path so you can help your earthly family, those who are worthy.
Mm.
So that's the part of the sisterhood. This is a matriarch mission. It's missionary work. We've always been that, and it's alive in a lot of us. It's alive in a lot of us, and then some of us may not understand. Um, so yeah, that's where it's at. We have to, in order to do that reset, like the sister said, the reset is real. And in order for us to grow and gain rebirth within us and have that golden womb, because that's pretty much what it is. The reset will create a golden womb within those who are chosen to have that goal. We have to be qualified to get that golden womb.
That's right. Sister Empress, I love you.
What do you think that we can do, you know, to start this healing process, to where women feel safe to come to us? Because I've heard women say, I got to keep my business up because I don't want my business all out there in the street. Somebody go gossip me or be looking at me, crazy, so forth and so on. So, what do we do to even open that door up to them, let them know this is a safe space? How do we begin to even open that door up for them to let them know, this is a safe space, we're a safe space, because not everybody's going to go tell your business. Not everybody's going to judge you and look down on you, and I think that someone spoke on that earlier about that fear of your business getting put out there, somebody looking at you like you're crazy, because a lot of us have gone through trauma that we have shared experiences, but we're so worried about what the next person sees that we don't even realize we could talk to each other and help each other, because some of us have overcame, the things we've gone through. So where do we even start that conversation?
We have to it's we can't. It's like the whole world is not going to receive and be safe. It's all about those who are willing to come forward. And I think the more people that will, it starts with those who are willing to start up that collision. And once it gets to that point, then we can reach out to people. Like I have a group of people, I have all kinds of people I deal with of all different walks of life and all different races, actually, as well, even men. So it's about coming together and building an organization. Like me, I'm establishing an organization to protect women and children. That starts off right there as a safe haven where people can feel free to learn how to unfold unfold. And the thing about fear, that's another demon. um I was told by a lady a few years ago when I was in St. Louis, and it was like all these brothers came down on me because you know how I am, and they didn't like me. But at that point, I'm not who I am, who I was then. I was still like this humble, like, oh, brother, oh, shalom. No, that's not what I meant. I didn't know. No, I didn't mean it like that. And um, the woman, she was very powerful, strong woman. She said, "Why didn't you defend yourself?" She hated me for that. She hated me for not speaking up. And she said, it's like your family must have put a spiritual muzzle on you. So that scripture about spare not, what's this? Is in Isaiah, I think, about spare not, cry loud, like do not care to offend. Everything is not about trying to offend somebody. A lot of people love to like mind f you with, it's not what you said, it's how you said it. It doesn't matter how I would have said it. You would have got offended anyway because the spirit can do things. And so sometimes you have to just let it roll off how it roll off. And it's just like, there's some people who have tough skin and there's some people who's very sensitive. And it's okay. But we have to walk in our truth. If we don't walk in our truth and walk in our authority, then how is anybody going to lead? How are we going to lead it? And as an example. And some women are tough, some women are soft, some women are balanced. It just, everybody has their own role to play, and there's a reason why you got some that's on a rah-rah tip, because they are built that way and they can handle those other tough ones.
I have scripture I'd like to read. It's Sirach chapter 6, verse 7 through 8. And it says, if thou wouldest get a friend, prove him first and be not hasty to credit him. Verse 8, for some man is a friend for his own occasion and
Yes.
will not abide in the day of thy trouble. Verse 9, if there is a friend who being turned to enmity and strife would discover thy reproach. Verse 10, again, some friend is a companion at the table and will not continue in the end of thy affliction.
Yes.
So I say give people time to see how many faces they have and find out which one is real, and then open yourself up to them.
I was just gonna say, sisters, because I must depart to put my children down. I was just gonna say, it. You were saying, Sister Empress, how do we do that? You got to walk that thing like you talk it. Okay, if you're one way when people see you, they're not gonna feel, or you think no one's looking, and you're one way. People are not gonna want to approach you and look to you for understanding. And I say this from life experience. When I was coming to the knowledge of the truth in LA, it was wild in LA. But Yahuwah's my witness. Strangers would come up to me and say, something told me you can help me. Now I was still learning the truth and living my repentance. But this happened, I am not exaggerating, maybe 10 times, early on before I even was solid in the truth. But I could pray for people, but I could listen to what they had to say, or I could help if I was in a position to help. Strangers, drug addicts, a woman possessed out her mind in a grocery store that me and my daughter was running from. She chased us outside and said, I think God told me you know how to help me. Now, I was running from this crazy woman in the store, but she was overcome with demons. And what I'm saying is, if we want to do something to help with that reset, we need to walk it like we talk it. We cannot be with the forked tongue. We can't be double minded, and we can't be backbiting. And we have to understand that sometimes you are going to have to go the extra mile for somebody that you don't even want to be bothered with. Because early in my walk, I did not want to be bothered with them crackheads in LA. But for some reason, they felt like I had an answer for them. And I would just ask Yahuwah to give me what he wanted for them. And this is a phenomenon in my life. It's happened every state I've ever been in. But we can start by ourselves first forgiving, because forgiveness allows us to heal. It allows us to then be in a place where we can offer healing. You're not going to walk around in unforgiveness and think you're going to offer healing. It's not balanced, and it's not order. And to me, a righteous order is being restored in this generation. I thank y'all for it, because his plan was right from the beginning. We departed. So that has to be brought back to its righteous order. And we are naturally a patriarchal people, but we haven't all lived that way. But we can get in our place in that order and trust the Father to do the rest. But it starts, I feel like that reset, that healing starts with first forgiving. Understanding that the people that hurt you are hurt people too. Somebody hurt them, somebody abused them, somebody abandoned them, somebody lied to them, somebody used them. It happened to all of us. And then when we get to see each other like the Father sees us, as pitiful children, people who deserve our pity and our mercy, then we can forgive, and then we can be a vessel to pour out love and healing and forgiveness on others. And we have to get up every day and make that choice. It's not an automatic thing, especially if you come up where I come from. Straight gangbang city from 3 years old. We were in the middle of a drive-by playing in my granny's front yard at 3 years old. And it was not no 10 shots, like 150 shots. And for some reason, we didn't get shot. So when you come up hearing bullets like that, very young, it puts something in you. My husband's from Mississippi. He can't handle the hood in me all the time. Like Raphaala said, my husband have to bring me back to the woman that I am today. not who society and indoctrination and pain and the ghetto made me. And I have to get up every day and make a choice to live that. So I just think if we can first forgive, then we can be a vessel to pour healing back into our people and change the generations to come. I must depart. I love you, ladies. And
Thank you.
I thank you for the invite. It's such an honor. Shalom, family.
Thank
Shalom. Thank
you. Shalom. Thank
you.
you. Sis, this has been a really interesting conversation. And I think we covered a lot. I think we covered a lot.
Indeed.
But I think there's some healing to be done. This is true.
Mm-hmm.
And I do think that, I would hope that everyone can find their village, their sisterhood, wherever they are,
Indeed.
because it is very important, because what we may lack in the relationships with our family, our mothers, or so forth, we should be able to reach out some outside of our home and get that, because there's a lot of us out here, and a lot of us need each other. So
Mhm.
I think we definitely have to start looking out. We have to outsource some time,
Absolutely.
for
We
that
are.
family
I think
bond.
it's a lot of misunderstanding too. There's a lot of misunderstanding where everybody's coming from. Everybody has a story, and I think when we hear and listen more, a lot of people don't listen like the sister said. Forgiveness, yeah, that is definitely a repetitive doctrine. But it's not about forgiveness with everything. Everything is not a forgiveness. Everything is about some things. Most things are lessons. It was a
Mhm.
lesson. What did I learn from this, or what did this person learn from that? It wasn't meant to be an emotional barrier situation throughout life and, oh, this happened to me and I don't know how I'm going to get over it. It's nothing like that. It's more like, like the things I brought it up as an example about mother-daughter relationship, and how do we, not necessarily it's just about healing. You can't take lifetime healing. We got things to do. So it's about, what do we learn from that? Like I said, those who have been in situations like that as a child who could not defend themselves, it's not about forgiveness, especially things that they hadn't even recalled. It's more about, what are we called to do? So, and when we go outside of our homes and look to, I don't chase people. I don't chase people. People will come to me because they see the light on me. Wherever I'm at, even at the workplace, I talk as I talk. I don't change my speech for nobody. I don't go, how some places say, oh, we can't talk about their hair, or we talk about everything else. I'm going to speak how I speak. So I do that because you never know, wherever you end up at is the main person you were supposed to be running into that day. So
Mhm.
that's how you recruit. You recruit basically kind of like, how Mashiach he did. He talked amongst thousands of people. He didn't care about all of them. He cared about whoever was worthy to hear. And it could have been just the one among 1,000.
Mhm.
That's where it is. So it's not it's about, we just have to meet and greets, maybe. That's a great way to do it, meet and greets.
Mhm.
And building the soul tribe, like I said, even with differences. People are not putting differences aside, because if that's the case, what is forgiveness if we don't put differences aside? And I'm not talking about necessarily just dealing with shenanigans and dealing with nonsense. I'm a no nonsense person. I don't like nonsense. So the Aries in me has that ox spirit, the spirit of the ox. But it's more like, well, this person may be a Jehovah's Witness. I know all kinds of people, and they hear me.
Mhm.
They hear me, and that's all that matters to me. Um, because at least they can't say they've never been told. They can't say, "Oh, Delia didn't say it," or So I'm really looking at it as, what do we, how we go about it is just taking the next step and just reaching out accordingly. And don't judge the person, even when she's wearing a short skirt. Don't know her story, because Mary Magdalene, Mary Magdalene. So we don't judge somebody by a short skirt and think that they're a hoe, and somebody who's covered in a dorm from head to toe is not a hoe. No, this doesn't work like that. It doesn't work like that. We have to, and then you remember that little scenario I talked about, little Keisha being raped, molested by Uncle Johnny, and then Big Mama didn't do nothing about it.
Mhm.
So there goes the other dynamic of how these things stem.
Mhm.
Um, so
Indeed.
The empowerment of, yeah, the empowerment. I'm not patriarchal. I'm matriarchal. I'm gonna just put that out there. I am matriarchal. I'm for the sisters first, and the Most High knows me. He gets it. He's headed me over to a place where I can reiterate my mind in other ways, so I can reach people in other ways, and I don't have no animosity against no other race because I've also been dealt with by my own people. So it
Exactly.
ain't just one set of people who have did things to us, and we're just trying to blame everything on one set of people.
Mm.
It started with us
Indeed.
because they ain't been here that long. It started with us, and it has to end with us. And that's when the reset will happen. When we unhand ourselves from all that, oh, we're victims of everything. We got to get out of that. That's one of the main things. And those women got to take that thing. The first ladies do all the time, but they just be on the back burner. Let the man, you know, let him. Okay, now you're gonna say the speech now. Okay, going out there, and we sit back there like, okay, he said it right. So that's where we're at. We're behind the scenes, but we still running the show. So I get it twisted. It starts with us.
You think maybe we need to do more checking on one another too? Not maybe letting so much time go by. And I don't always mean just a text message. I mean like an actual phone call. Let me hear your voice. Let me discern that you're really okay. Because you can't always tell through a text message. So yeah, maybe we can check on each other more.
And I apologize. I know me. I'd be all over the place if I ain't working, and I'm just. But I will definitely. Yeah, that's something that's very important. No, even me and my mom, we talk a lot. So she's like, I ain't messing with you today because we won't get off the phone for 4 hours. She talks just as much as I do. So that's another thing too. You know me, I will just and I'll say what I say. All right, let me go now because I know I can go in. I'm long winded, but it's just we do need to get more involved, and so we can get the better understanding. I know there's some sisters like, well, what made you leave and where you're at now? But I'm like, I have a different calling. I have a different responsibility that doesn't require me to stay. I have to move along and do different things. And I don't want to hate people. I don't have time for all that hatred and all that stuff.
Yeah.
It's not for me. It's not for me because, like I said, what I saw was amongst my own people. So that's why I was able to travel among certain states and end up at 3 different ministries and saw some things that had nothing to do with the white
I know that's right.
man. So I had, and I talk to a lot of brothers and sisters still. I still, keep in touch. And then I got some Christian friends, I got some Chinese friends who are Christians. It's so funny. It's so weird, because you hear different perspectives, and we got hidden women in the churches that are on levels that you wouldn't believe. We got some hidden colors in churches, and they're there for a reason, ready to activate, but they're like they're just waiting, they're waiting for that particular moment. And then you have some that are not in the churches and they're being judged, and we can use them. They're like elders in spirit, even a 5-year-old. We're not understanding like what we hold, and we don't even want to get in tune with nature like we should. That's another problem. We're not even in tune with nature. If we can't, if the
That's
mother
true.
is acting like that with her daughter, she ain't gonna be. She ain't gonna. What does she need with some land? The land is not going to even the soil won't even be fertile no more, or won't even spurt out a leaf. Maybe if her heart ain't right, we would have less sickness in our bodies if we change our aura, if we heighten our aura, and then
Indeed.
we can come. Mhm. Yeah, and then we can come together and do a whole lot. We can't hurt animals. This is deep. We can't even hurt animals because what kind of mother, what kind of nurturing person, whether she bears children or not, wants to hurt animals, and that goes so deep. That goes so deep. Yeah, no,
Also,
it's just an animal, or it's just a this, or just a that. Like I don't like mosquitoes, roaches, and flies. However, I'm learning that the order of nature, we have a certain way to coexist with nature without hurting everything or thinking that something is not worthy. Because what if we come back as that damn fly? Most flies are unresolved souls. That's why they stick to dog poop. Nobody want to come back as that. But if our heart is jacked up, oh, she thinks she did that. I don't like that. Gonna be that very damn fly. I'm good. I'm good. I don't want.
I
So yeah.
also want to say that I believe that prayer. Um, we need to tap more into praying. We need that. Sometime, I used to do. I did this for a little while, some years back, but I didn't continue with it. But I would get up, early, first thing in the morning, and have a little phone tree of sisters, that we would just have prayer. And we wouldn't talk or nothing. We literally just get on the phone and pray, and then we would be done.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes it's, you could continually pray for yourself, but sometimes stop praying for your stuff because the Most High already heard you. Pray for somebody else sometime. You know what I mean?
Right.
Start praying for your sisters and their healing and whatever they're going through. I always say, like, if you're having financial struggles, stop praying about your financial struggles and start praying for somebody else to be blessed. You will be shocked the trickle down effect of that. You understand me? You never know what your sisters is going through, and it's sometimes instead of being offended when our sisters are closed off or to themselves, and oh, she being funny, or I can't stand her. Pray for that sister because maybe she can't talk to you, but you can be whatever when you're praying for her, the Most High can go down and help her. You know what I mean? That intercessory prayer. So I do believe that we should pray. I think we should get together and pray as much as we get together and gossip and talk and do whatever on the phone. Sometimes we just need to get on the phone. It's 5, 6 o'clock in the morning and start our day with prayer. You know what I mean? It's
Indeed.
like it don't always just have to be an individual thing. It says where 2 or 3 are gathered together. So sometimes, sis, it's yes, 5 a.m., Sister Raphaala, but I just want to pray with you before we start our day. Can we just say a prayer and go?
Initiate that.
You know?
Yeah, someone needs to initiate that.
Yeah, because because I have weird hours. I could be up at midnight. I might be asleep. You just never know with me. But if someone was to call me going through something at 2 a.m., I can honestly say I'm getting up and we finna pray. You know what
Exactly.
I mean? My mother was a prayer warrior, and that's one thing I remember growing up hearing my mother, even my father, all through the night praying.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? So I believe part of that sisterhood, that healing, is just being able to sometimes come together and pray. I may not have the advice for you in your situation. I may not have the answers for what you're going through, but what I can do is pray with you, sister. You know what I mean? And maybe we join our faith together, and the Most High will, see that and come work it out for you. You know what I mean? So I definitely believe, I really am strong belief in our faith and our spiritual walk lining up with the Most High, helping us too in that area. You understand me? I know we all have our own, you know, ways and beliefs of things of that, but I think it all comes back to the Most High. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
All the healing, all the wholeness, all whatever it is we can tap into, it's still gonna come back to the Most High. If it ain't rooted in Yah, then it really ain't gonna go nowhere. That's my opinion. Um, I'm not gonna trample on nobody else's belief, but again, if it's not rooted in Yah, it's gonna fall apart anyway. So, you know, and that's kind of where I feel with that. But yeah, I think a lot of the healing and the things we need to go through, sometimes you just need to get on your knees and ask the Most High, like, I need your help. Where do I start, Lord? Bring the people in my life who can help me because I'm struggling out here by myself.
Mm-hmm.
He didn't create us as solitary people anyway. You know what I mean? It's good to have solitary moments, but we're not meant to be solitary. We're tribal people. We're meant to have family. We're meant to have a tribe. You know, we're meant to have a village.
Indeed.
So, you know,
Mhm. Yeah.
Sirach, Sirach 36. No, is it Sirach 30? Hold on. I think Sirach 38.
Oh, I love
And it's
so.
very, yeah, I think it's Sirach 38. And he's talking about those, there's some of that is dealing with towards the end.
The doctor and physicians. Mm-hmm.
Yes, yes. Okay, so he's explaining who he's basically appointed, what we who we deal with in regards to healing, right? The medicine of the earth, not the modern day medicine. Yet and still, a lot of us is gearing towards modern day medicine. Then when you go towards the end of this, right, of this chapter, and he says, um, okay, so 28. But let me get out this version. I don't even know how this version came out. Like Good News Translation. Actually, it may not be so bad to read that one. I'm going to read the NLT version for a reason, right? The New Living Translation. And it says on, oh, come on, go back. About the locksmiths, the people who are doing things that keeps the cities running, right? We're going to scholarship and other occupations. That's what it starts off at 24, verse 24. And it didn't go on NLT. So scholars must have time to study if they're going to be wise. I look at that spiritual and literal. Some people get their wisdom from above. Everybody's not a reader. What about blind people who don't read? You know, so those people, they study a different way for the wisdom. Then you have those who are farmers. And I'm not going to read it all like verbatim. I'm just going to look through it. We have the artists and the craftsmen, the locksmiths, the blacksmiths who do the anvils. You know, people who make buildings, who make the dishes for us to use and eat out of, and all these things. They are not, even when we think about it, when we went into church back in the days and you had the ushers, the women, you know, Sister Mary and Sister uh, Aretha or whatever, and they sometimes they were on the outside. Even the men, they were on the outside, or they were in the kitchen cooking, preparing the meals for after the service being over. They were not even able to attend the service as much because they were doing other things. Those people, that's a form of prayer. Prayer is not also just in words, but it's also in action, is what I'm trying to say here, is what this is saying towards the end. It says these people are not sought out to serve on the public councils, and they never attain positions of great importance. They do not serve as judges, and they do not understand legal matters. They have no education and are not known for their wisdom. You never hear them quoting Proverbs, but the work they do holds this world together. When they do their work, it is the same as offering prayer. So what I'm saying is that yes, we also, as we pray, praying is also in an action, not just the words, especially when we're speaking this English language. You know, whereas it's important. Like I like, Sister Raphaala, at times when you do pray in Hebrew. It's very important. Hebrew, Latin, Slavic language, Swahili, and Arabic, right? So also it's also putting the works in actively. And I have a huge resume to be checked, that anybody can check it. People tell anybody on my end will tell you I'm always in it. I'm always in it. And I'm always looking to have the passion to do more. Let's do more. Let's grow. Let's grow. And it's the things that somebody may do that other people may not understand. So if you have some people who are putting together an organization to help, because we know that there's about to be a bad war coming, and there are some people who have powers that other people may feel like, oh, they shouldn't have stuff like that because that's evil. I'm not the one to turn that away, because maybe I'm the one that's going to help. Maybe I was put in play by the Most High to help. Maybe other women and men were put in play by the Most High to help. We have spiritual warriors, we have literal warriors. And that's what I mean by we can't judge people, because there's some people who didn't need to be placed in a particular setting where they're not able to move correctly according to their mission. That's the problem. There are people who have missions, even when we don't understand it. We may not understand it, but we first got to get to know and examine the matters. We have to examine all matters first before we can judge it. And everyone is not necessarily meant to be a judge. We're all not meant to be judges in that matter because we don't know the person. So the Christians, oh, ain't nobody gonna make it because they ain't serving Jesus. If you ain't serving Jesus, then you ain't gonna make it. You're going to hell automatically. And then here we are. It's like, oh, you ain't doing the step. You automatically just gonna burn in hell. You automatically destroy. That's not true. That's not true. Once we change that, a lot more of us can come together. That's why people are scared to come and approach. That's why people are scared, and we are actually destroying and stumbling people when we do that. And I had to learn. By coming to a different, I have to stand on a different stairs or then, let me look, let me just look and observe. So I'm saying that because that's how I've been reaching people, by listening first and seeing first where things is coming. I've seen so many women that's gone through things, or why they are who they are, by listening and it helped me to see from a better perspective.
Mhm.
You know, so even the whole thing with females with the weaves, and it was this girl who was saying that her man doesn't want her wearing wigs and weaves, and I said, well, why you still doing it? She said, because I like it. I said, okay, but you still should understand why you're wearing them though. Are you wearing it because it's a trend, because everybody else is doing it? And then she started kind of like thinking about certain things. And when she took her weave off, she had like these beautiful corn braids in her hair. So somebody braided her hair, and they put weave in, and it was these beautiful designs. I said, do you know that corn braid hairstyle you have, it was a mat back in Africa? Those were mats where slaves can escape, and even in this country, before this country became what it was, that's how the slaves were able to escape, when they wore their corn braids a certain way. And she was like, really? I said, yeah. And I said, why are you covering all your hair? I said, you can do that. You can wear it, but make sure you're doing it for a particular reason. So I explained to her about war. Women wore wigs and weaves and makeup because it was a war. Not
Hmm.
necessarily it got to a point where today it's still a war. A woman is doing that sometimes for different reasons. So I started to have to understand, I don't want to judge the one. Now I do look at like some women, they wear the eyelashes so long they looking like Snuffleupagus from Sesame Street. That be bugging me anyhow. But as far but as far as like, when a woman wants to like adorn herself with makeup, that's fine as long as she understands what she's doing and she's aware of it.
Mhm.
Um, we have to set more in place so the men could be more aligned with who we are. If we don't love ourselves, they won't love us any better. They will bare minimum us. If we bare minimum ourselves, they're going to bare minimum us
Absolutely.
too. So
Absolutely.
we
That is
have
so
to
true.
stand our ground, right? No matter how much they think we're masculine, it's not about masculinity. It's about a woman just standing her ground.
That's the secret
So
right
if
there.
they feel like it's, yeah, if they feel like, oh, well,
Yeah.
you two, this, okay, well, go get one of them girls, go give her a Happy Meal and a blunt, and she be okay. You don't have to work hard for her. But don't get mad at women who stand their ground, who were taught. I was taught by men. I was taught by women to act like this. I was taught by men, all the way to my very own ex-husband, to be who I am right now.
Yeah.
And on
If we are
business.
not loving ourselves,
Yeah,
then
yeah,
it's going to be very difficult for others to be able to love us too.
right. And they can charge us for that. They can literally charge us for that.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
I love y'all so much. And I'm telling
Yes.
you that anybody have any last sister princess?
Um, no, I think we covered some things,
Yeah.
because it's not one of those subjects that you could just uncover everything because we'd be here for the rest of the year. Um,
Mhm. I'm telling
and because there's a lot,
you.
there's a lot
A
going
whole
on.
lot.
It's a lot we see every day, and to the point, sometimes I just shake my head and it's like, oh Lord, I literally pray for the Black community, for especially our sisters. The other day, I was like, I
Absolutely.
said, Abba, I understand you created everybody. I said, but my people, my tribe, I don't really say my people anymore. I say my tribe.
Yeah.
I said, I don't know what's going on with my tribe, but my tribe needs some healing, Lord, and whatever I can do to, help this, I want to be that light. Let me, I just want to help my tribe. I said, it's not that I hate every other tribe, but I'm really
You
concerned about my tribe,
you
and
know,
the way they're going.
Sister Princess, we have some new incomers. We have Julie Wade and Return of the Matriarch, and we have Sister Tangia that just chimed in.
Like, okay, well, better late than never, sisters. But you know what? We're gonna let y'all get y'all say in on this subject before we get out of here. Because the topic is, the mother-daughter dynamic. We've spoken on the good, we've spoken on the bad and the downright ugly um of
Mhm.
this situation. We've spoken on having good mothers and that good foundation in a home. We've also spoken on having a shaky foundation, and we've spoken on having a completely broken foundation. So if anyone has any input, any wisdom on, not only coming from that background, but ways to heal, resources that sisters can tap into, you know, if they need someone to talk to or therapy or whatever it is, um, please put that out there now, if you will.
Indeed.
Shalom. I hope all is well. I came late, but like you say, better late than never. And definitely, what the Empress said about self-love. It is the highest vibration, it's the greatest love of all. And so that is going to be a key factor into fixing any kind of relationship, especially with the mother-daughter dynamic. I know my mother, she just don't love herself. And so our relationship had been strained all of my life. And so now it's just had gotten to the point to where it's so much evil and wicked done behind my back that I had to cut her off. So it was bittersweet, but it's like, are you going to allow your enemies to stay in your presence, or continue begging for love from your enemies, like truly real life? Or are you going to basically remother yourself, pour into yourself with the self-love, and just accept things as they are? And so that's what I have had to do personally. But for any mothers who have daughters or just children, period, loving yourself, filling your own cup, that way you have something that you can give. And so a lot of mothers are depleted of energy, time, resources, so on and so forth. And so one of my desires is the return of the village,
Mm.
safe space for women and children, where females can come with their children. It'll be a setting in nature. Everything is natural. We're growing our own food. It's just like a natural oasis. Is my desire for mothers to bring their children in, where other mothers can assist to give other mothers a break, and not have to worry about the safety of their children. And where it's truly a safe environment where you can heal in nature, get back in tune with nature, get back in tune with yourself, have some time for yourself. And I think that when it comes to motherhood, I'm not a mother yet, but it's definitely a promise that has been made to me, and I'm holding God to that. So but I would assume that under my name, I would assume that it's you don't have a lot of time, when you're a mother. You don't have a lot of time for yourself. And then if you're married, you already know, especially with the way that we have been conditioned, to basically be a doormat to a man. And so a lot of women, a lot of mothers, they just don't have that time. And so, for self. And so this environment will give mothers that time, for their self, to come get back in tune with self, to learn how to pour back in to yourself, to remother yourself, refather yourself, whatever it takes. For me personally, being in nature was a key component, because I learned that God dwells in nature.
Yes.
And even the scripture says, when Solomon built the temple of the Lord, God said to Solomon, this is a promise I made to your daddy, King David. You made it happen. I appreciate it, but I will dwell in the thick darkness. And
Mm.
so, the thick darkness is in nature. And I have had the opportunity to be face to face with God in a setting that was very old school, where I didn't have running water and electricity. I couldn't just go turn a stove on. I had to go gather wood. And so that involved me having to love myself enough to say, I'm going to be grateful, for one, that at least I have some wood to cook. I got a place to stay, because I was dealing with a homeless situation. But it really wasn't. It was divine for me to be in that setting, to learn how to love myself, to get up and go all out for myself like I did everybody else in my life. I went to the far extreme. I would do whatever it take to make sure that I could come through for somebody. And so now it was time for me to do that for myself. And that was the setting that I was put in, being in nature, having to gather wood, bathing in the ocean, washing my clothes in a bucket, creating a clothesline, like all of those things that I had to do in nature to make sure I was taken care of. It was a way for me to love myself. And so I just kind of feel like that would be wonderful, for mothers and children. And I was even speaking to the Empress today about, because in my world, Black woman God. So if we're the gods, we're going to have to create a setting, not just for women and children, but for men too. for them to heal, for them to have a safe space, because both males and females have been abused and misused, and when it comes to children who then grow up, as hurt and abused adults that never heal. So creating those spaces. And I know tonight we're talking about the mothers and the children. But I just wanted to throw that out there. But that's definitely something that I would love to come together. And we spoke about it on another meet that I joined you all on. You know, how can we come together in a natural setting with the tents, the Feast of Tabernacles? You know what I'm saying? We out there in our tents, we got the fire going, we're able to just commune in the presence of each of one another and also in the presence of God. So I'm looking forward to that. My desire is to get some land where we can, build, because I roll with a very powerful woman of God who is a builder, who is a general contractor. She has built homes and thousands in natural disasters. She's built her own home. So the desire now is to get land where we can create these spaces that we're talking about. And so it's going to happen really quick. But that's what time it is. It's time for us to take up our mantles and do what we need to do so that our children don't have to suffer, so that we don't have to continue suffering, you know? So just taking our power back, ladies, one day at a time, and coming together is power in numbers, us coming together, being on one accord mentally, putting our resources together, to see this happen, and knowing that where two or three agree, so shall it be, and that God is in the midst. And so, I mean, that's pretty much where I am at, and I've had to walk away from people that I love for the sake of my own peace. I
Yeah,
didn't want to do it, but I mean, you have to choose yourself at some point in your life. You have to choose you. And that's what I've had to do.
indeed. Beautiful, sis. Thank you so much.
Thank y'all.
I definitely resonate with your with your story.
I know you spoke about it. And hey, the biopic gonna be off the chain. I can't wait to see the movie. Princess got us, baby. She gonna put us on the big screen. Okay.
Uh-oh. Uh-oh.
You ready, Princess?
I'm glad
Hey,
you got faith in me.
I
Uh-oh.
do. I do. I'm so grateful for you. I'm grateful for you.
Indeed. Indeed. I'm grateful for all you ladies, and thank you all so much for your time and your love and your prayers and your thoughts. Indeed. So what about who's that Julie Wade? We haven't heard from her yet, and then we'll close out.
I think she's at work, but she's listening in.
Oh, okay. Okay. All esteem. Okay, well, sisters, please subscribe to our YouTube channel, the Royal Meetup Talk panel. Join us on the group page on Facebook. Sister Princess and I are both have Facebook and TikTok and Instagram platforms. You can connect with us there, so that way we all can keep we can manifest this village that we keep talking about. Stay in touch with each other, reach out to one another for encouragement or a word or support or whatever. You have a business. Let us know what your business is so we can support you as well.
Yes, ma'am, because I'm ready to see us here.
Absolutely.
Hmm.
Yeah. I hear you, Sister Tangia. She said this is a touchy topic for her. Yeah, this was a very good talk panel.
Yeah, we hit on some things, but like I said earlier, we'd be here all year trying to get through it all because there's some stuff that is really treacherous that we didn't really get
So
to bring
much.
up. And I don't even know if even YouTube or anybody ready for that deep conversation.
Do you
Um,
think that we need to do a part two, or should we continue with
Here's
the?
the thing: if we do a part two, people gotta be willing to come and get raw. And like we said earlier, people are so afraid of what others are gonna think, and you don't want to embarrass your family. You don't want to, you know,
Yeah.
it's gonna be hard to get people to be transparent with But I think sometimes you got to understand you got to release it in the right setting,
Exactly.
not just to any old body, but in a setting where other folks who want to, like you, want to heal, want to see you better, they want to be better. So, but
Exactly.
if,
And so,
sisters are willing to come and speak on it,
yeah,
we here for them. And if they're willing to be transparent and share their raw stories, it can help somebody, because a lot of folks need to know, like, for one, the topic of molestation.
mhm,
We talk about it, but we don't talk about it. You know what I mean? We touch on it, we bring it up, but we don't really go deep into how that really scars a lot of our women, and how that has affected the way they are as women, as adults, as how they are as mothers.
yeah,
So,
And
you
then
know,
your children don't understand why you're overprotective. They
yeah,
just feel like
yes,
they
mhm,
just feel like you're overbearing mother,
yes,
and you don't want to tell them the things that you went through. But you know, it's it's the over protective, because you don't want nothing to happen to them that has happened to you, because the older you get, the more that those traumas show up in your life. Some ways a trigger, things that you have suppressed for so long starts to resurface when you get married, and then you start settling down, and you're not with the hustle and the bustle of the everyday life. So when you can start reflecting on what you have been through from childhood, and you're going through that healing process of healing, and then you know all hell breaks loose because of you've been trying to keep the family dynamics, the family secrets, and it's tearing you apart, but it also tears the relationship between you and your children apart as well, because people have had the chance to influence your children in a negative way, by saying negative things about their mother. And um this topic here is just something that I'm glad that I was able to speak with my mother before she went to her final resting place. And it was tough. She said some things out of her mouth, but at that time, my mother and father didn't find out that I was by her brother until I was in my 30s.
I feel you.
And so, and by this time I was married, and things who and things just started triggering. Just the sound of his voice made me sick. And and I was kind of forced to be around him. And I just had to let my mother know and my father know. And in a way, I'm kind of glad that my dad has dementia, so he don't have to remember those things, because in that don't make my parents bad parents. It's just that they were too trusting, and trusting the people that they were around. And then you have the people that will tell your mother, oh, she lying. And when you are a child, and somebody, and you growing up and you being known as a liar, it's like nothing you say out of your mouth is the truth. So that's when you just start accepting whatever that comes your way as a mother, as a daughter. And when I got pregnant when I was 14 years old, and um I think it was 14, but I got pregnant my 8th grade year in middle school, and it was like I was trying to escape my uncle and trying to get away from that. And it was like I was finding comfort in my child's father at the time, because I thought that he was going to save me from what I was going through. And my uncle would hold that over my head and all of those things. He's not here anymore. And I, at about 2 or 3 weeks before he passed away, horribly, um, he apologized. And I don't know if I accepted that, but I just wanted him to tell my mom and dad the truth so they can see that all those times that I was called out my name, that I wasn't lying, or and it really has messed up my relationship with my daughters, where I rather for them to have stayed with my mom and my dad than to follow me around and somebody do something to my child, or my children, and then I end up in prison because I'm gonna have zero understandings. And to have your children to turn against you for what somebody else has said to them, and not giving you the chance to explain yourself. They just take whatever somebody has said about you, and is a hurtful thing. And I pray every day that me and my daughters, me and my kids, we that our relationship gets better. But I'm not gonna go through life um apologizing, or go through life um trying to kiss your ass for you to like me, or trying to shower you with gifts, or trying to excuse me for saying what I said, but and trying to appease you because I'm your mama, or whatever. But because if I can forgive my mom, and to me, my mama never done any wrong. But once I started getting older, I realized that she had these narcissistic ways,
Mhm.
and things like that. But I never went to none of my siblings and talked about my mom. We handled that between ourselves, and she had to realize. And she was woman enough to come and say she was sorry. And hearing her say she was sorry, and hearing her um you know say her piece, was enough for me. Because a lot of things, our parents don't know what we go through, and we blame them. We go through life blaming them when it's not even their fault. They don't know. And society has turned us against our parents. So to um have turned us against our parents, to every little thing that our parents have done to us is necessary. Not that they don't love us. It could be that they do love us.
Right.
And we don't come with instructions. We don't come, here knowing how to love, or knowing what is right from wrong. Our parents have to teach us the best way that they know how, and guide us in the right direction. And uh and so, with society saying that you don't need to talk to your mom, or you don't need to deal with your mom had you. She chose life. That's more than anything in this world. If you could forgive a man for putting his hands on you, or treating you wrong, or belittling you, or abusing you, you could forgive the woman that had you.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yep.
That's true.
Because if it wasn't for your mom, maybe the dad did plant the seed, but the mama had to carry that seed. She had to keep herself nourished mentally, physically, spiritually, so she could have a healthy baby. And
Absolutely.
she gave you the most precious thing in life, and that is life. you
Yes, Lord.
know and she has to nourish you. She has to nourish you the best way she know how, with the means that she have, by any means necessary. She may fall short sometime, but it's always to benefit her kids, or and out of the love of her kids. It's not to hurt her children. Or she might get angry sometime and say some things out of her mouth, but it's not. it it's not that she don't love you. You don't know what she's going through. You don't know what she's going through mentally. You don't know what she's going through physically, you know? And we mess up. You know, I can see what my mom, how she felt when her children disrespected her or her grandchildren disrespected her, because no matter what, she would give her life, and she did, to make to to make sure that we had a roof over our head, to make sure that everything that we got in life, she got it out the mud, her and my dad.
Absolutely. Yes,
A-
sis.
and for children these days to feel like they are entitled
Mm,
because the world has put this entitlement in their head, like nothing that we do is good enough. And we got to walk on eggshells around our kids because we feel like if we say something, oh, they not gonna like us, or they gonna block you from their phones. Yeah, and just like I told my daughter, I said, y'all can block me all you wanna, but one thing about me, you can't block who I am.
that's right.
You could block me on a technology, but in life you can't block me, because when I'm gone, and you gonna miss me when I'm gone, cause I doggone sure miss my mom. No matter what,
Yeah.
she gave me some terrible ass whoopings, but it made me the
Mm,
woman I am today.
I
It
know.
made me the strong person that I am today.
I know that's right. I'm glad she had you, sis.
I'm so sorry. This
Uh,
topic here, I
mm,
had to
we know what
contemplate
you're
on coming on here because I I don't have. If my mom was here, she would fix. My mom fixed everything,
Yeah.
but now that she's not here, I feel like I don't have no one to fix it. But it's I do, and it's bringing my relationship with the Most High closer,
Hmm.
because now I can go to Him and allow Him to fix it in His timing, and when He feels like it needs to be fixed. And love on this little one that I have here. And, you know, and God makes no mistakes. He gave me another daughter, and the sun and moon sets in her and guiding her in the right direction. And I don't have nobody to poison her mind about me. The only person can poison her is me. And can't nobody poison her mind about her mama.
Hmm.
And I know that she's going to be that child that is going to stand up in the plate to her siblings and let them know that you the one missed out, and my mom is this and my mom is that. She's not going to let anyone talk about her mom. You don't allow anyone to talk about your mom. I don't care what she has done to you. You if somebody How can somebody not like your mama but like her children? That's just
Absolutely.
how
It's
where do that mix at? You can't like the mom, you can't like not like the mama but like the children. And you don't allow nobody to sit up and talk about your mama. I don't care what she has done or what she's doing, or you don't know why she's doing what she's doing. But that's still, at the end of the day, yes, that's still your mama. Because without her, you won't be here. Because she could have chose to do all other things, because anybody on here know that grew up back then, they was teaching us in school how to get rid of you.
that's the truth. Hmm.
You and so I, I'm gonna land my plane. I just want to thank y'all for this time. But this is a touchy subject, and all mothers, black mothers, really need to be on this call listening in, because we all are suffering in some type of way when it comes to the relationship with your daughters, because they're feeling some type of way. I have five, and my oldest daughter is 31 years old. And when my mom passed away, that young lady cussed me out like I was a woman in the streets.
Oh my gosh.
And yes, in front of everybody during the time that I lost my own mother. When I lost my mother, I lost everybody in my family in one whop. My oldest daughter called DCF on me and had my 11-year-old at that time. Now she's 13. And to lie to DCF and say that I was abusing her while we were here.
Mm.
So now my daughter, that is 13 years old, is in North Carolina, buck ass wild
Yeah.
because of lies and deceit from DCF and everybody else.
Mm.
And I hope they hear this.
I'm so sorry, sis.
And I'm still fighting with those demons.
Mm.
Because do you know DCF don't even have a case, just took my daughter from me while I was just had buried my mom?
Mm. That's too much. Mm. Mm-mm-mm. We have to pray for our sister Tangia, ladies. We gotta pray for her.
Yes, yes, indeed.
Please keep our sister in prayer.
Yes,
Ooh.
please do. I
Mm.
have two daughters that live in Savannah with their grandmother, and she has totally turned her children, my children, against me.
Mm.
Me and my 18-year-old, we're working on our relationship, but my daughter, who's about to be 17 on the 27th, and she don't even talk because her grandmother has retarded her brain.
Oh my
I
God.
don't I don't understand why will family members, if you are keeping one of your relatives' children, why would you talk bad about the mother, but you say you love the children? You don't love the mama kids if you talking bad about the mama because you want to you want to draw a wedge between the children for your financial gain or whatever you trying to gain.
Mm-hmm.
I would never talk bad about to my grandchildren about their mother or their father.
Absolutely. You
And
know.
this is what we need to stop,
Mm-hmm.
all this negative talking about about the parents. That
Mm-hmm.
go for the mother talking about the daddy talking about the mama, the in-laws talking about the mama, because these kids listen to that
Mm-hmm.
and they grow up resenting the people, the mother, and she got to spend a lifetime trying to explain and prove herself
Mm-hmm.
of why she made the decision for you to be with your other side of the family or your or her parents or whatever.
Yeah.
But at least she didn't give you the foster care or put you in the system or something and just had somebody to come in and just adopt you off.
Mm-hmm.
At least somebody in the family close raised you and helped take care of you without the help from your fathers.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
They
Exactly.
don't look at none of that, but they'll go and love the daddy like he been there every step of the way, like he cut the umbilical cord,
Mm-hmm.
like he woke up at night and changed diapers. While you on wick and trying to get the milk because you have no other resources.
Mm-hmm.
But they can sit up on their dog behinds and talk about the mama, somebody who brought these children in the world.
Mm-hmm. You know, there is a law of reaping and sowing that has never missed an address and never will miss an address. Believe that, sis.
I'm a believer in that, sister. And one thing that I have learned how to heal, and my sister said this that spoke last, I had to learn how to reconnect with nature. I
Yeah.
had to reconnect with Mother Earth. And now I can say that I am at peace because life must go on and I can't give that negative energy anymore energy, because all it does is pull away from you, separate you from what your relationship with the most high. And you just have to keep pushing and knowing that it'll get greater later. If it don't get greater, you just know what you got to do. If you have to count them off, you have to just count them off. One day they're going to figure it out, because when they become parents and their children treat them the same way, then they going to look back on these days and say, I wish I could have told my mama that I was sorry, or me and my mama. Because one thing, I'm at peace with me and my mom. I am. And so I don't know how it feels to be not at peace with your mom, but if you have a strained relationship with your mom, work that thing out,
Yeah.
and and
Forgive
work
them.
that thing out. Apologize. Let her know. If you have to write a letter, let her know how you feel, how it made you feel, what you've been going through, and forgive her,
Indeed.
and just let go and let God. Because if that lady go on to her final resting place and you haven't set things in place with her, that's something, a burden that you would have to carry for the rest of your
Absolutely.
life. And
Yep.
I want to land my plane there. I want to say peace and blessings. And to all my mothers out there, you keep pushing and you keep praying and you ask God to keep guiding you in the right direction. And you just, if you have kids at home, you just love on them kids even more and show them hard-headed ones that don't, hey, that think they got it all figured out. Just let them go. Give them back to God, and He will do what He has to do to them. You just continue being the mother that you are ordained, and the daughter that you are ordained to be. And I love each and every one of you.
We love you, sister.
Thank you. Yes. Love you,
All praise
sis.
to the Most High. She said a mouthful, sisters.
Yes.
Mm. We might as well just wrap it up right there. She just said all that could be said.
Mm-hmm.
But like she said, we have to forgive our moms and remember that they are two humans and they had to learn some things just like we had to learn some things. And no one is perfect. And they had to deal with their traumas and their triggers and their issues. And they was trying to be a mom to us. So we have to give them the same grace that we needed. And just forgive them and tell them we love them. And
Yes.
tomorrow's not promised to none of us.
And forgive ourselves, any one of us who feel like we could have did better, you know?
Yes, thank you for sharing your stories, sister.
You're welcome. Thank y'all for allowing me to share.
Yeah, many are going to be able to resonate with this.
Well, sis, I guess you can go ahead and give us the salutations in the prayer out on that one. that was a mic drop and a word.
I'm telling you. Oh, man. All right, sisters. Hallelujah. 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 Most High. Most High, we thank you, Father, the creator of the heavens and the earth, the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, the power of Yasharahla, Israel. We come before you this evening giving you thanks, praise, honor, and glory. We esteem you highly. In the name of the Messiah, we thank you for the opportunity to come together and to counsel together with my sisters. And we ask that you would intervene in every situation and every soul that came on to this podcast, those who exited, those who came, those who left, those who are still here. Look upon all of our situations and intervene on our behalf. And we asking that you would bring about a spirit of healing within our relationships with our mothers and with our fathers and with our children and with our family members and those who are hungry and don't have food to eat or money to buy, those who have a bill that needs to be paid and they don't know how they're going to get it paid, and those who are about to lose their place to live, and those who need transportation don't have it or have it and about to lose it, those who need a job and don't have a job and not able to get a job. You know everybody's situation. We're asking that you would come in and that you would interrupt and that you would restore all that the cankerworms have eaten And we're asking that you will replenish all that's been lost and that you will provide all that is needed. And we are looking for miracles. Give us all a miracle, Most High. And most of all, give us our energetic spiritual healing that we are in need of, where we're broken and torn down and traumatized. Heal our inner childs. All those little girls within us, heal that little girl, Most High. Give us the tools to do so. And those who don't know how to heal themselves, show them how to do it. Help us and guide us and lead us to where we are to go to get the healing that we need and to get all that we need in spirit and in flesh. All power be unto you in the name of the Mahaya Bahasham Yeshaya. So be it. Hallelujah.
So be it.
Hallelujah.
So
Hallelujah.
be it. Hallelujah.
Yes. All right.
Praise, ladies.